Mock Committee, the whole meeting. Ask the clerk if appropriate meeting notification's been provided.
Yes, it has.
Please do roll.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Here.
Alderman Walsh.
Here.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Here.
Alderman Kavieski.
Here.
Alderman Youngworth.
Here.
Alderman Frankowski. Alderman Cloth.
Here.
And Alderman Ellis.
Here.
Okay, the first item is 3A 2027-2031 Capital Budget Overview. Steve, take us away into the numbers.
Good fun. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, Kevin, I was wrong.
Okay, so tonight we won't heavily get into the numbers. It's literally the baton pass. So staff has done a lot of preparation work. They've assembled the workbooks. We've got some summaries together that we'll work on next week. Tuesday is the workshop. Tonight, though, I'm going to kind of show you where this information is, how to access it, and you'll have time between now and next week, Tuesday, to kind of delve into it, make notes, prepare questions, and then all of the staff who have requests in for capital items for this next 5-year horizon will be here next Tuesday and be able to speak to each item in detail. So, capital improvement plan, I know we've had some turnover. Some of you have seen this many times, but this is essentially, it's a blueprint for the next 5 years. What are the large spend capital items that we need to plan for the spending and the replacement? Departments have prepared the request for 2027, and then, which is really the only year that we're looking for approval for next year. We've got one new caveat that I'll touch on next week. But really 28 through 31 is really, it's just the forward-looking radar. Those items that don't have to be done next year, but still are on the forward-looking radar. The worksheets, we have 2 groups of workbooks, one for the utility and one for the city projects. So water, wastewater, electric are in their own workbook. Separately, all the other city departments are in their own standalone workbook. They're organized in a very similar fashion. They're a similar process to what we've done years past. At the bottom of this sheet here, in this handout's in front of you, one thing that we're going to ask, because of the long lead times and not having to bring it back to council, when we have to order a chassis or a vehicle for next year's delivery, we want to embed that right within the capital approval right now, so that it's clear that the expectation is that it won't be delivered or paid for until that 28 budget year. But if we need to place the order in order to get in line and get a production slot, place that in 27, we want to authorize that as part and parcel of the 27 capital approval.
Even though the spending's occurring in 28.
Correct. Okay. Correct. Many items have 9 to 12 months lead time before you can actually get in the production slot. So a couple of steps here. These workbooks, they're rather large, so I don't think we could email them to you if we tried. They're on the finance page website, and I'll take you there in a moment to show you where they're at and how to access them. Those 2 files, each worksheet has that same overall summary. We'll navigate there here in a minute. So just a quick graphic. This is on the finance department page. So if you go, and I'll walk through in a live screen, but under departments, there's finance department. Then over on the left-hand side, there's this shortcut budget and financial information on the left-hand side. That'll bring you up to this page, and there's links right here for the 27 through 31 capital plan, and there's the 2 files I mentioned, one for utility, one for city projects. Once you open that file, there's a summary that consolidates all of the projects into one summary table, and then off to the right, there's detailed project information sheets. There's tabs for every line item that's on this summary on your left.
That's a good idea. Already had that.
So each left-hand column there, it'll tell you the tab number If you click on that, it's a hyperlink. It'll take you right to the project information. So it'll get you right to the sheet. Read about it, make any notes of questions. When you're ready to go back to the summary and move on to the next one, there's a link at the top of each project tab that will take you back to the summary. So if you click that, it'll jump you back to the first tab. So just in terms of navigation, a couple of tools to help kind of make that easier. I should have, so from our live city site, I'll walk through that. From the departments tab up top, from our main site landing page to the finance department. Here's that link off to the left-hand side, budget and financial information. Here are the two files. And so I'll go ahead and open the city. It will open. I recommend that on your device, however, wherever you save files, download the file, save it to your device. If you have a folder on your hard drive for city files, however you organize them, download it onto your laptop. So I'm right here, as I click that link, it gives me this prompt to download the file. You'll see this little arrow here popped up. I can then open the file. It'll open each of your devices. The laptops has Office installed on them, so this is what the file looks like. Here's that summary table I mentioned. Here's the links that take to each of the project tabs. It collects a lot of the same information about the different projects. First set of columns here talk about the spending, the total projects in each of the years in which that spending should occur. The next set of columns talk about funding, levy, debt, reserves, or other. And if it's an other type, you can expand or collapse those items here. So other, it'll tell you alongside that column there, internal service fees. So this other, it'll help you see kind of there's several items that fall within that other category. So just to jump to, I'll pick one, police number 2, it goes to the project tab, gives you some information. This one isn't happening until 2030, but it gives you some scope and description, gives you photos of kind of what the item is. When you're done with your review, go ahead and click that link on the top. It takes you back to the summary screen. Okay, so once you download, do the save as. Again, wherever you save your files, I'll put it on the network here, or the desktop, just as a, this.
And if you have questions when you're at home trying to do this, feel free to call Steve.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Time of the day or night, right?
Or
24/7.
drop him an email and he'll do what he can to assist you, to walk you through.
Happy to help. So now that I've
Budget season.
saved that, I'll go ahead and close it. But I just wanted to kind of do, a lot of times for myself, repetition's good. So see it, do it. If you have any trouble, again, don't hesitate to call. But
And when we go through this on Tuesday, you're going to also have this open for us. So
Correct.
as anybody has questions, we can bop right in. Between now and Tuesday, if anyone on council has specific questions they need addressed or want addressed, the quicker we get them, the better. Yeah, to us, so that we can see them and address them as fast as we can.
So along with what I'm presenting here tonight with these instructions, you have one for the city, a summary like this, so you can either make notes on paper or in the Excel files if you want to make notes, highlight, however, whatever works for you, you've got options. So I just wanted to share that. At the workshop next Tuesday, the 28th, we'll look to walk through the utilities first, and we'll walk through each of the staff members representing each of these areas will be here. And once we're through with the utilities, we'll move on to city funds. The goal will be to approve the 27, right, just that first year. For the city funds, the same thing for the utility funds. This is the new item I mentioned. We want to authorize the 28 orders to take place in '27, so it's just for those fleet vehicles. And then we want to get some general consensus on kind of those out years. If there's concerns about them being on the list, the spend, the timing, shuffling years. But ideally, after next Tuesday, the second meeting in August has been our normal practice, is that second August meeting was when it would be here for your consideration for approval. So the workshop next week, if there's any changes that you identify between now and then, there's time that we can adjust and rearrange, summarize, figure out where the totals end up with any changes you may request or propose. Any changes then, I think the way we had done it last year is that we would bring those as motions to amend kind of the proposed one that you have to work with now,
At the workshop, I think we can do some of those changes at the workshop.
those live,
Yeah.
right?
That would be my plan.
Okay, sounds good. That was it. That's the end of my baton pass.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions before we move on to WPPI?
Hey.
All right, have fun going through those worksheets over the weekend, everyone.
If
I-
I
We
could
can
add-
track your usage so we know who's actually looking at them. No, I'm kidding.
We'll add one last thing if I may.
Oh, sure.
I did get kind of a late adjustment today, so I will send out an email when that late adjustment has been made to the utilities file. Some constantly moving, so
Yeah.
it's dollar-wise, it's almost a push, but I need to get the more current information in there for you. But
When that one comes in, do you mind just sending us a separate email to
Yes.
everyone, letting us know what line it
utility
is?
one's good. City, you're good to go.
Okay,
Utility, I'll send you an email to notify you when the more current file is there on the website.
oh, go ahead, yeah,
I think you just answered it. The most current with any adjustments will always be on the file on the website.
Yes, yes. So the city one, it's ready to go, ready for your review. The utility one was, except for some recent changes today.
So the one that we have in front of us right now is outdated, but the one online is current.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. This is still the dated, the printed copy, but it's two projects that'll be swapped out with some changes. All but two projects is final for the utilities as well. But both what you have printed in front of you and what's currently on the website for the utility still needs those two changes. Good?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
thanks, Steve, appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Item number 3B, consider, well, do we actually do this right now? Don't we? No, that's what I thought.
That was my,
This'll just be a presentation of the WPPI long-term power supply contract extension. Yeah. Mike Peters. Yeah, you ready to go?
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You want to do a little intro?
I just want to introduce Mike Peters. Mike Peters, President and CEO of WPPI. Actually, in WPPI's history, there's only been 3 people in that position, and Mike has been doing an excellent job. WPPI continues to grow and provide additional services to all the utilities. The one thing I'd like to highlight in the memo that I put out is that they are the reason we're the low-cost provider. They make that possible. They make a lot of the services that we're providing that puts us on an even keel with the investor-owned. A lot of people I know when we started here, when we were only about 8,000 people, they were questioning, how could we be providing electricity and compete with the We Energies of the world? And we don't compete with them. We kick their butts. So that's through, the Joint Action Agency and everything that WPPI is doing for all of their communities. So I just wanted to point that out.
One other thing, aren't we one of the original members of
Yes, we were
WPPI
one of
too?
the original 23 that signed
yeah.
on to form WPPI, 1980.
That's awesome.
very good.
All right.
You
All right,
made a-
Mike, take us
You made
away.
a good decision back then, and we work every day to confirm that. So I appreciate the opportunity to present. As Mark said, he put a memo in your packet that really lays out the history of WPPI. Oconomowoc has been one of our founding members. First and foremost, we exist to serve the members. back when you created us, before then, you were subjected to whatever power supply options you had in the marketplace. You had to deal most likely with WEPCO and an investor-owned utility. You were a price taker. You had no influence over your power supply options. You simply had to buy what was available. When you stood up WPPI, that gave you economies of scale that you would never have on your own. Oconomowoc is one of our fastest growing members. You're about 60 megawatts of load. WPPI collectively, we're about 1,100 megawatts. So you're part of a bigger organization, but we truly see ourselves as part of your city. We are no different than your utility department, your street department, your water department. You just happen to be part of an organization that has 50 other utilities that operate and own WPPI. You have direct access to WPPI through the board of directors. Mark sits on our board. Kevin is very active in the organization as well. And so you have a direct say in what we do from a power supply and services standpoint. First and foremost, as I said, we exist to serve the membership. Our mission is just that, to serve the members, to make you the best utility you can be from a municipal standpoint. You compare very favorably across the board with any utility in the region. Matter of fact, with any utility in the state. Oconomowoc is one of the low-cost providers. Your reliability is among the best. So you really do it right when it comes to providing service to your customers. From a wholesale power supply standpoint, that's the piece that we oversee and manage on your behalf. You can see how we've done going back to 2012. Our costs in 2025 are pretty comparable to what they were in 2012 on a dollar basis. On an inflation-adjusted basis, you can see we've been doing very well in keeping our costs manageable. We are not always trying to be the low-cost provider. We're not chasing the lowest cost because that also injects volatility into our pricing. We want to be a low-cost, stable wholesale power supply provider. And you can see, based on that graph, we've been doing a pretty good job in that area. And then when you combine our wholesale cost with your distribution cost, you can see that our WPPI members are amongst the lowest, or the lowest in the state and in the region. We're comparing here with the investor-owned utilities, the large Wisconsin co-ops, and some other organizations like WPPI that have municipal utility members. So I'd say together as a team with WPPI and your distribution system, as Mark said, you compare very favorably overall. So why are we here tonight? As the memo talked about, we're at a point where we need to extend that contract that we have with our membership. You know, that contract really, it's our way of showing to the outside world that we have the ability to pay back debt. If we issue debt to buy into a generating facility or to buy transmission assets, we have to show that we have the ability to pay that back. When you issue debt, it just exists. You're the city or you're the utility. Nobody needs to see a contract because it's just part of the city. Because you created us and took us outside of that city, we have that contract that we point to that says we have a direct relationship with our member communities who have a direct relationship with the customers. So they pay their bill, you pay your bill, we're able to pay our debt or pay our wholesale power supply contracts that we might have. Looking forward, this one of the issues that we're looking at is how much new generation do we need to add to our portfolio in the coming years to serve the load growth that you and some of the other members are having. Right here, this bar chart, I'll explain it real quickly. The dark part, the total bar is what we need to have in our portfolio to serve our projected load. The dark part is what we currently have. Either we own the asset or we have it under contract. And so you can see in the near years, up until 2033, we're pretty well set. We're actually investing in a power supply natural gas facility in 2027. It's being built right now. We plan to file a certificate with the commission, the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin, hopefully within the next 30 days. We've kept our executive committee and our board of directors updated on that project, and we'll be able to speak about it publicly after we file that certificate. But you can see we're in a pretty good spot up until 2033. But from our standpoint, you need to plan 7, 8, 10 years out in order to be able to have the resources available in that portfolio at that time. if we said go today, it could take 5 to 7 years to build a new generation asset. So we're doing planning now to be ready to serve that gap in 2033. You can see it's not very much, but it does start to open up in 2033. We finance long-term debt, 30 years, just like a city would do on your bond issuances. That gives us the best cost, in other words, the lowest rate. The other area where you're seeing a tremendous build-out in the utility infrastructure is on the transmission side. WPPI owns 6.76% of the American Transmission Company, so you indirectly own part of the transmission that serves the city. Up until 2025, the capital calls that ATC would make. So ATC, when they build new transmission, they pay for it in two ways, debt or capital contributions that the owners make. And they make that based on your percentage ownership of ATC. 4 years ago, ATC's 10-year projection for new construction was about $4 billion. That same 10-year projection today is pushing close to $15 billion. So it has grown tremendously. There's a lot of things behind that. It's not just data centers, although that is one piece of it. They are replacing 70-plus-year-old assets in the field. They've been assigned some very large transmission projects to build from the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator. That's sort of the air traffic controller for generation and transmission building in the region, in a 15-state region. ATC's building a couple of $1 billion of new transmission for that. They're connecting new generation that's getting built. So there's a lot of what they're doing to make the system more robust, which actually helps us get access to more power supply. The challenge that we have up until 2025, we could meet our capital calls through our normal rate making. We didn't have to increase our rates any more than what we would otherwise just to make those capital calls. The average capital calls were about $4 million a year. Our margins were about 13 to 14 million a year, so we could meet those just in margins set aside. In 2025, it was 15 million. Last year, in 26, it was almost 30 million. So for 26, we borrowed money this year to make the 2026 capital calls and the 27 capital calls, about $54 million. Going forward, if we want to continue our level of ownership in ATC, we would have to borrow money to do that. Now, it does cash flow. Our return on ATC is more than 9.5% of a return. Our debt is typically for taxable debt. When we invest in ATC, it's taxable. It's about 5%. So it is a good investment, and we get a healthy return on that. Right now, our return from ATC reduces our average cost by 4%. We get about 12 to 13 million a year in investment return. By 2030, that's going to be north of $30 million. That goes 100% back to the customers. We don't retain that. That is a direct offset to our average wholesale cost. Another example of how working through us, we're able to do things that help reduce the cost to your customers. So that's another area that we'll be looking at from a debt standpoint. We issue, again, 30-year debt. It's the most cost-effective way for us to fund transmission investment. So, as I said, that long-term contract, this isn't anything new. We've had contract extensions several times over our 46-year existence. The first going back to 1989. The first one I was involved in was in 2015. We asked our members to extend the contract 18 years. As soon as we extended that contract, within a couple of years, that opened up some great opportunities for us that we would not have otherwise been able to take advantage of. We did some direct investment in transmission. When we own transmission directly, we can invest at a tax-exempt rate, which is about 3% versus investing through ATC. We were able to do that after that 2015 extension. We entered into a long-term power supply contract to buy wind out of a wind farm that came online in 2017. If we tried to duplicate that 132 megawatt wind contract today, it'd be 30 to 40% higher. So very cost effective. It's a 20-plus year contract, goes out into the 2040s. The Point Beach Solar came online in 2021. Again, we would not have been able to do that but for that extension in 2015. That contract, if we tried to reproduce that today, would probably be 30 to 40% higher as well. So we've been able to take advantage of our prior contract extensions to position us to continue to be a low-cost provider for our member communities. So from our standpoint, right now, we are faced with a couple of financing issues in the next few years. As I said, we are already working on a natural gas peaking plant that we would do the financing for in early 2027. We have transmission assets that we would borrow money for in 2027 as well. If we continue to have the same level of ownership in ATC, as I showed you, those capital calls are going to be $30 million a year. We don't want to raise your rates to meet those. When we can issue debt, it would have an impact on our annual debt service, but nowhere near what we would have to do if we just tried to fund that out of our rates. Another thing that's come up in the last year is a way to use our tax-exempt ability to issue tax-exempt debt and partnering with a large financial institution like a large bank and prepay some of our power bill. By doing that, we can get upwards of 8 to 12% reduction in that piece of our power supply portfolio. This is something that's been in the gas industry for 20 plus years. It's now being used in our industry for not-for-profit joint action agencies like us that can take advantage of our tax-exempt status and work with a taxable entity like a large financial institution. We're working on this project right now. We're hoping to be able to do something by the end of this year. We've kept our board and our executive committee up to date on that as well. But it would be able to deliver power supply savings even in this year. So we have a lot of things on the plate in the next year or two. As I said, the gas peaking units, the energy prepaid transactions, which could return some immediate savings, and then our ongoing transmission investments. All of these things we're able to do all of this because of that contract that we have with our members. Right now, that contract goes out to 2055. We need at least 40 plus years on those contracts in order to do the long-term financing, to do the prepaid transaction. The last time we did this, we went from 2037 to 2055. I know it seems like a long period of time, and it is, but in our industry, just like when you finance a new water tower, our new streets, our new distribution infrastructure, you're building a 50, 60-year asset that's going to outlive many of us here in that room. WPPI is no different. We just need that contract to tie everything together so when we issue debt, Wall Street, the bond holders understand we'll be able to pay it back. And so that's really what this contract extension is all about. It allows us to make strategic moves that benefit our member communities, just like we've done the last 3 times we did the contract extension. This is the time frame. We started talking about this a year ago, but we officially let our board know in April that we were starting the process this year. We sent the documents out the first week of July. Our board, the WPPI board, would take action in September to approve the contract. We have a target date of the end of this year to get it done. We have a few months into January and February of 27 that if we needed a few more months for a particular member, they would have a little bit of extra time. Each community is different. Some communities, they'll take a couple of months. They'll go to their utility commission. They'll then go to their city council and then maybe take it back up. So every community is different. We sent the documents out the first week of July. We've already got 6 members that have approved these. So they're moving along very well from an approval standpoint. I came here tonight to share this with you. You already had it in your packet. Mark did an excellent job in the memo that he put out. But I'm happy to answer any questions about the arrangement that we've had for 46 years. And we would just simply like to continue that long-term commitment that we have with you and you with your customers. So happy to answer any questions and appreciate the time.
Lou?
I have a couple questions that you don't necessarily need to provide the answers tonight, if you can't provide them tonight. You did mention data centers. I would like to understand WPPI's position in regards to data centers and how you position with those types of high-use users and potential for them coming online, going offline, what that gap then would mean for the ratepayers.
Yep, I can't answer that for you. So you can see in that load projection, this is what we project we need to serve our load. There's not a lot of growth in there. There's no data center loads in there because data centers you can't plan for, they just show up in a community. It's up to the local community on whether they want to have a data center that they would serve. It's not our decision, it is your decision, not ours. If you decide that you were going to have if a data center approached you and you said, yes, we want a data center in the city's utility service area, we would then work with you and that data center to make sure they had the power supply resources they would need. Second, if what we want to do, and we've talked about this over the last year, is the most important thing from our perspective is making sure that all of the other member communities and the one that's serving the data center is not exposed to any additional risk. So we would put in place a rate, and somewhat similar to what the investor-owned utilities are doing. It's called the bespoke asset rate, where that data center would have to have the power supply lined up to serve the data center. Now, we could be an intermediary where we would take the power supply and make sure it's available for the data center, but the data center is financially responsible for 100% of the power supply piece that we would then deliver to them. So we would cabin off the risk so that if the data center went away in 5 years, it doesn't leave us holding a stranded asset, either a contract or an asset that we built to serve that data center. From a timing standpoint, if a data center, and we had one data center that was looking to locate in one of the member communities. It was about a 300 megawatt load. It went all the way up to the point of doing an interconnection study, which is the piece that we go to the transmission provider, and it wasn't ATC, it was another transmission company that would have served that area. We say, this is the size of the load, this is where they're planning to locate, how quickly can you build transmission to that customer? It was going to require a new substation and new transmission. The data center wanted to be online by 2028. The earliest they could get the transmission built was 2032. We weren't the ones holding it up, it was the transmission infrastructure. And that would likely always be the case. It'll either be the transmission or the distribution. If Mark wanted to build a new substation to serve that size of a load, it would take several years to get the equipment in place in order to serve it. So first and foremost, it's the city's decision. It is not ours. If the city wants a data center, we'll work with them to make sure that you have the power supply that you need to serve them. If you don't want a data center in your community, that's your call.
I just want to make it very clear that there, not to the best of my knowledge, any discussion about a data center in this community or the surrounding communities, but any data center that would come into the WPPI territory and have a collapse of service and strand could potentially adjust rates for WPPI. And that's why I was asking the question.
It's a fair question.
And that's why I asked what the WPPI policy is, not necessarily the local municipalities that would either approve or deny it, but you as an advisory partner in making that a reality or not, should have a position in regards to how that community protects itself.
Correct.
And other members
the other
of,
members.
yes.
That
So
is absolutely 100, you're thinking exactly like we are. And again, local decision, but if that community wants to serve a data center, we will make sure that the power supply is available, but none of the other members are exposed to additional risk, period.
okay, so that was one question. The other question is, you talked about type of generation that you're investing in, natural gas. Currently, I'd say the political climate is more favorable for nuclear generation. It is probably the lowest cost long-term,
Yeah.
depending upon what
Depends.
happens with natural gas or coal, whatever. But are there any looks at nuclear power as investment opportunities in the long-term plan?
Yes. First off, we take about 20% of our supply comes out of the Point Beach Nuclear Plant. That contract initially went from 2030 and 2033. We just signed a new extension that now our nuclear contract now goes to 2050 and 2053. So we have 20% of our resource as of today is locked up through 2050 and 53. As far as new nuclear is concerned, we have looked at several options for new nuclear. We are not going to be a standalone entity buying into nuclear. We would partner with other utilities. About 3 years ago, we signed a non-disclosure agreement with one of the leading companies on developing small modular reactors. I can tell you that what the salesmen were telling us and what the actual data we got once we signed the NDA, it didn't quite match up. And so we weren't the only ones in that consortium. Almost every utility in Wisconsin was working with that same developer. We all basically said, it's not ready for prime time. We monitor this. We know that there's going to, Wisconsin, WEPCO is looking to build a small modular reactor on the former Kewaunee nuclear site. We passed on any opportunities to be in that first iteration of a new small modular reactor. For us, we're probably, as I said, we don't need that much until you get out to 34. That for us is probably a 2040 resource. So we watch and we are part of industry groups on nuclear. We keep up with the trade journals. So we're very much aware of the status of where those small modular reactor development is at. There's like 40 different models that are being pursued right now. All the large data center developers like Amazon, like Google, like Microsoft, they all have a particular SMR that they're championing, and they are getting built. There's a couple there they have broken ground on. So we're going to watch it very closely. And we definitely, when it is we don't want to be serial number one. There's no incentive for us. When it becomes pretty standard in the industry, that's when we would take a look at it. And we definitely see nuclear as the future for wholesale power supply. We have about 37% of our generation is coal. That will be phased out by 2035. We won't have any coal in our portfolio. It's being converted, the Oak Creek generation, which came online in 2010, it's getting converted so it can burn 100% natural gas or 100% coal with the intent of burning all gas after 2035.
Thanks, Lou. Thanks for those. Any other questions? Thanks for asking the question about nuclear. That was actually on my list of questions. I think it's important that we continue to explore that.
Absolutely.
It's really the safest, cheapest form of energy out there. And other countries like the United Kingdom and France who hadn't built, the United Kingdom hadn't built a new nuclear power plant for like 40 years, and they're building the biggest one, I think, in the world right now, which is incredible. I did have one really quick question, and then we'll move on. You're going to stick around because we've got to vote on this later.
I will stay until.
So if we have
until
more
you're done.
questions, we can also ask.
Yeah, if you have other questions, I'll stick around.
My real quick question was on that prepay
Yep.
that you're talking about. Essentially, it's like an arbitrage. You're going to buy the energy ahead of time.
Well.
And then you're gonna make the
exactly.
difference up on
It is
the-
an arbitrage based on a taxable entity's cost of debt and our tax exempt cost of debt. We're not issuing the debt.
Right.
There would be an intermediary that would issue bonds, and the proceeds would be basically set aside to pay the bill. We still pay our monthly bill, but
Okay.
it's discounted. And so we'll pay, the discount is the difference in the arbitrage.
Right. The only risk is that if there's a point where some piece of energy gets really cheap, right?
Well,
Which you probably are
our
anticipating.
PPA would be locked in regardless.
Okay.
So, we're only doing this with PPAs, purchase power agreements, that we have in place today. It could be one that, it could be the Point Beach nuclear contract. We could get a 10% savings on that contract.
And-
It exists regardless of, other options.
And Mike, those companies like to prepay because just like you're asking us for the extended contract, this guarantees them that money in the door to continue
Well,
generating.
those deals can unwind.
Okay.
Those transactions can unwind. The only thing that we would lose out on is the discount. We'd just simply go back to paying the rate we were otherwise paying.
Okay.
So and I tell you what, we have spent months, and we've had outside attorneys, we've had our financial consultants, we've talked to other joint action agencies that have done these deals in the last year. There is, from everything we've been able to see, and it's hard to believe, but everything we've seen, there's only upside potential. The downside risk, the only risk is we lose the discount and have to pay what we were paying before the
Anyway,
discount.
right, okay.
So it doesn't
Good.
extend the contract. It doesn't expose us to, if they default in anything, it doesn't expose us at all. We're not issuing the debt. It's the intermediary that would be exposed, but the bank is the one that's on the hook.
Got it.
So.
Well, thank you for that explanation. Yeah, stick around. You're on the agenda. We're going to try to move you up too so we can get you voted
Whatever
on.
you need. Appreciate it.
All right,
Yep,
thank you, Mike. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll give our clerk about a minute here to get rocking for our main event.
Instead of me screwing this up, I probably should just walk away. There you go.
Cracking a cold one?
Yeah, you betcha.
Thank you. Betcha.
I just don't want to do that during session.
Oh, cameras are probably still rolling. Cameras are probably still rolling.
That's fine. Motion to crack one open. It's a black hole. Yeah. It's a
No, you don't, at all.
funny one.
The heading, yeah, the heading.
Yeah.
That's all. Not the closed,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not a closed session.
It's a rabbit hole.
You ready?
Well, I have
Driving. Evan's ready?
I think, some of that is, that's what they,
Okay, I'd like to call to order the City of Economo Common Council meeting for Tuesday, July 21st, 2026, and ask the clerk if appropriate meeting notification's been provided.
Yes, it has, Your Honor.
We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Kevin, if you'd like to lead us in that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alderman Spiegelberg. Here. Alderman Welch.
Here.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Here.
Alderman Kavieski.
Here.
Alderman Youngworth.
Here.
Alderman Frankowski.
Here.
Alderman Altman Cloth.
Here.
And Alderman Ellis.
Here.
Okay, the first item to address is the public hearing, item 4A. This is the social CUP. The purpose is to hear public comment for a conditional use permit allowing general outdoor recreation and commercial located at 1340 Snyder Way. Jason, take us away to the social.
Thank you, Mayor, Common Council. I'll give a brief overview of the public hearing tonight. This was advertised and given proper notice. This is to convert the former ski chalet. It's now addressed 1340 Snyder Way. It used to be on a different street. This is the former ski chalet. They would like to revamp this and put a small addition on of about 10,000 square feet. Overall, it'd be about 47,000 square feet. But what we're talking about tonight would be the outside activities. They need a conditional use permit for outdoor recreation. So they provided a site plan showing where the building is, the existing building. This is that addition that I mentioned, and then the parking lots. And this is the road, Snyder Way. This is currently under construction to be extended. So the outside activities consist of a family-oriented activities. This, according to the Southwest Summit Avenue plan that we did several years ago, this area was supposed to be for family entertainment. So this is really doing exactly what the vision of the city was and all the area residents many years ago. So they would like to, this is just an AI rendering, but they do have a site plan that shows how this would fit in there. There was questions at the Plan Commission meeting of how is this all gonna fit. They have an 18-hole miniature golf course. They have a slide park consisting of various slides, some enclosed, some outside slides, and then bounce pillows for different age groups, an aerial trek course. I won't get in too deep in the weeds on this stuff. They have their whole team here sitting in the audience. Any special questions about the activities outside, they can answer them better than I can. I included a photo here of this fencing. That is the fencing that'll be going around the facility. It's not real, you know, to take security, but it's not an ugly chain link fence that's real high. They don't think that's gonna be too much of an issue. I included this rendering as well because not only are we talking about the outdoor fun, family-orientated, we're talking about the rooftop of that existing building that I mentioned, that's 47,000 square feet. Now this is at pretty packed capacity. I don't know if it'd be that full, but they're showing the outdoor activities also include the roof. It's going to be outside. They're going to have events out there, corporate outings, possible weddings, small concerts. You know, the capacity of the roof isn't all that big. It's not a huge venue, but they would like to have outdoor events on the rooftop as well. So the concert, we talked at length about the stage up there. It would be pointed towards the hill, so the sound would be directed to the hill. So this is how it would all fit on that site. It's only 2 acres or a little more than that of area that's actually flat enough that can support this area. Again, this is the building, the parking lots, the ramps going up. This is all gonna flow from the rooftop into the outdoor activity. They're currently grading this out. There will be the miniature golf. They're showing 36 holes. It's actually only going to be 18. The water feature, it'll be pumped back up so that it'll be constantly flowing. Maybe the idea is to incorporate water into some of the holes. You have the slides right here. This is all to scale. They have the 2 bounce pillows for different age groups, one pillow for smaller children, and then you have another pillow for medium to larger children. You have things like rock walls and other things throughout, ropes course, net course for the little ones to go on as well. So you'd enter right here, there would be a hut, and you'd pay for the people of all ages to utilize this. Parking was a big concern because there's a lot happening. You have the indoor activities of the chalet building. That's going to be pickleball and restaurants and you know, a bowling alley inside there. And then then you have the outdoor activities as well. So plus the rooftop. So we talked about how many stalls do you have. It was a moving target. There's a lot of stuff happening. They're incorporating the existing parking and then some future lots, and then and also potential parking on the street. But what we had them do was a breakdown, and this is all in your packet. I won't get into this, but you know, each use, the way the zoning works is each use has a separate requirement for parking. So they took every use in that building and the outside, and they converted it into parking space. So some of these required quite a bit of parking. The roof, for example, 450 stalls. So that's a lot of parking for that rooftop. So they did a study, and they showed the existing parking that they're going to be putting in right away. There's 2 main lots, and then they showed some additional parking. Anything's possible. This would require more grading because there's topography challenges right here, but they could put this in. They did show maybe a potential building here, but this would take priority. There's also parking south of this area here. This is off-site, but again, it's all under the same ownership currently, and they would do that. And then they showed how the people could park on the Snyder Way extension with the stalls there. So parking, we feel that we're pretty confident. There's language in the conditional use that regulates parking. The other concern that was expressed at Plan Commission was the noise, not only of the outdoor activities, but then the rooftop as well. They did present a sound level survey. The Plan Commission noticed it wasn't signed. So as of July 16th, they presented a signed copy here. This was not generated by AI, but an actual sound expert. I won't bore you with the entire study, but they did take readings at these areas A through J on it, and they were out there with their speakers and things taking the readings. We have a very restrictive sign ordinance. This would fall under continuous noise. Up to 55 decibels only is the maximum, and that's not very loud. So there's things in the conditional use that regulate the sound. So without going through the conditional use point by point, I just want you to know all the changes that the Plan Commission recommended, which discussed this for probably over an hour, are incorporated into the conditional use. The conditional use, just for the benefit of the audience, it references all of their plans and studies are incorporated into the conditional use. Any substantial change that they would come, like, let's say, 6 months from now, they say, oh, we want to do something else. We want to do ice skating at night or something. That would require a new public hearing. Their hours of operation are limited in there, so this is not an all-night thing. It goes until 10 o'clock Sunday through Thursday, 11 o'clock at night on Fridays and Saturdays. Lighting is sensitive. It is some residential uses in the area. The noise is discussed at length in the conditional use. The construction activity and the hours of when that can take place, Plan Commission talked about that. The parking, I went through all of that. The fire district had a lot of concerns about if anyone would get injured on the outside, can they get their equipment to them? That's all discussed. The garbage and refuse, we talked at length about that, about how can a truck get in there, what is your plan? They're gonna be having a UTV on site. They're gonna be going through the multi-use path up and around to the dumpster. It's a big site, so there's a lot of stuff happening. And then what's really important for the council to know is we do this on a few conditional uses because these are fairly intense uses, ones that we're not sure how it's gonna work out and do we have everything covered. There's a 1-year review, and that's not from 1 year today, it's from 1 year after they open. I mean, we can bring them in any time, but this is just a time that the council automatically gets to hear, are there any concerns reported with the fire district, with the police? Are there noise complaints? Are there lighting complaints? Are the hours too late? And then we'd bring them back in. So that's already in the conditional use. So with that said, the Plan Commission did recommend approval of the conditional use permit with the changes that are in bold in your print. With that, I'll sit down and we'll have open it up.
One correction, we actually had 2 meetings on this. We had an initial planning commission meeting for probably about an hour. We sent them back and asked for changes and more additions, and they came back, 3-4 weeks later with the additional stuff. And then we made those pretty significant changes to the parking structure, parking is a big concern, so we wanted to make sure there was parking available also for the future, so. Thanks, Jason. I have no cards in front of me, so I'll just throw it out to the audience. Anyone have any comments or questions just about this? There'll be a comments and suggestions from citizens later on for anything else general. Thank you. Yeah, you're the only one that I think is submitting on this one, on the public hearing for the social. Go ahead, just go ahead and give us your name.
Okay, Lynn Wright, 707 Marigold Street. Okay, I don't live in this area, but I'm concerned for all the residents who do. So I didn't have a chance to look in detail at the sound survey, but I did print out 2 pages, page 128 and 131. So it was done from 11 to 1 p.m. The wind was only 2 miles per hour. There was a lot of construction noise. So I don't know how that was an accurate sound survey. And since it goes to 11 on Friday and Saturday, I really think there needs to be a survey done from like 7 to now 11 p.m. or 8 to 11, whatever, because at night it can be different, the noise levels. But there was background noise and stuff, so need an accurate. I mean, just from page 131, the noise classification from 7 to 10 p.m. for continuous is 55 dPA, as Jason said. But from 10 to 7 a.m., it's 50. So that last hour, it goes down to 50, okay? So they did it from front audience area, mid audience area, rear audience area, well, front audience area with concert 92.2, mid audience area 82.4, rear audience area that's 250 feet away, 76.8. North property line, 550 feet, 55.8. South property line, 1,250 feet, 61.6. East property line, 500 feet, 58.1. West property line, 450 feet, 61.2. South residences at Paps Road and Service Road, 1,400 feet, 53.6. West residences at Stryling Drive, 800 feet is 53.8. And east residence at Cary Court is 57.1. So almost all of them are over or extremely close. And they're all over for from 10 to 11. So the concert thing is what really concerns me, because that music is going to travel. I understand, I was at the Planning Commission, so I heard all the discussion. It's going, I know that the equipment is going to be, they have to use the equipment that's there. And I know it can be adjusted and whatever. But this is really high, you guys. You really need to think about the concert thing on the rooftop deck. And I'd also like to know how many people is the capacity on the rooftop. And there was talk about 2 stages, so I need clarification on that. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Any other comments on this one? Oh, yeah, go ahead. You can just state your name and just fill out a card afterwards.
Thank you. My name is Nancy Corcoran.
Can you just pull the microphone just, there you go,
Okay,
perfect.
my name is Nancy Corcoran, and I'm president of the Homeowners Association at 1061 Regent Road, the condominiums. And our biggest concern right now is the constant traffic that's going through our private parking lot. It has never been a road, it is a parking lot. We've had construction traffic, which I have chased down trucks for the past 2 years. We have people driving through our parking lot at different rates of speed, and there are people walking, there are children, there are dogs. We're kind of tired of the public traffic going through our private parking lot. And with the opening of the social, how is this going to be controlled? How will the owners of the social keep the public traffic out of our private parking lot? And we're also concerned that it will become a use for the public to be in our parking lot and use our spaces. Also, the noise level is a big concern, and the lighting that will come off of it into the backside of our building and the other buildings that are there. So we have a lot of concerns about this.
Understood.
And thank you.
Yeah, grab one of those and just fill it out and drop it off when you
Okay.
leave. Or you can bring it back up when you're done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more.
Oh, sure.
James Phelps, I currently live at the Lockland apartment complex. I've been there 3 years. Ambient noises are different times of day. You don't hear the traffic as much at night as you do during the day. It's gonna be the same thing there, where we're gonna be hearing bands playing at night. I mean, is it gonna, what's the capacity for a concert there? You know, are we talking 1,000 people? Are we talking 150 people? What kind of bands or concerts are we talking about? Again, like Dave said, the big concern is, you know, it's residential now. The properties going up around there are very expensive, very beautiful. I'm an apartment person. I'm not a homeowner, but some of those people are not going to be happy when this gets up and rolling. I mean, it's kind of a running joke. We called it the Institute, because I always told my grandkids it was haunted and it was an old insane asylum when it was empty. But it's going to be a beautiful property, no doubt about it. But I think it's got to be a good neighbor, is what it's got to really be. And I hope they understand that there's a lot of people there. I mean, I've kept an eye on it for years since I've been living there. I've called the police on it and had great responses for loitering and things that were going on. So I'm happy to see it improve, but I just want it to be done right. And again, some of the testing maybe needs to be done at different times during the day. And again, I'd like to know the capacity for these concerts. How much are we talking at?
We'll ask the owner to address some of that later on. Thanks. Fill out a card too, if you would. Thanks, appreciate it. Okay, anybody else on this issue? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. I'll ask if there's any changes to item 5A, minutes of June 16th, 2026, and/or I'll entertain a motion on that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next is comments and suggestions from citizens. We've heard from several citizens about the CUP. In the public hearing, are there any other additional comments? Yes, sir, come on up. You got two, you only get one.
I got two different topics.
Oh, okay, you can just fill out one, that's fine.
All right.
That doesn't give you more time though, because you have two
Well,
topics.
that was with the gray area
Oh,
I was
yeah,
hoping
okay.
for. Michael BD 1048 Saratoga Court. So I read the article in the paper about the scooters, bikes, e-bikes downtown. I mean, I agree with the fact they shouldn't be ridden on the sidewalks. I think everybody heard about the individual who got hurt in Milwaukee, got clipped by a scooter. But there's got to be some other choice for us as bike riders to maneuver downtown without having to go in traffic or ride with traffic. So are we looking at bike lanes? That seems like a headache. I just came back from Colorado, and small town similar to what we have, downtown area, lots of shops, restaurants. Right on the sidewalk, they have all bikes must be walked. As I read the ordinance, it says you can ride a bike in a residential area on the sidewalk or when you're learning to ride a bike. That doesn't really address walking a bike downtown, but in my opinion, it would be maybe the quickest, cheapest way to start the process.
You can walk a bike downtown.
And but that's not what, if I understand the ordinance, I'm maybe the city attorney
Yeah,
or chief
no,
can.
you
It
can
doesn't
absolutely.
specify that as I read it. So if
Yeah.
I'm wrong, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But maybe throwing it on the sidewalk like these out in Colorado, if you're walking or you're riding, you see it right on the sidewalk. That's just my 2 cents. My other thing was Village of Pewaukee, Town of Pewaukee are having a water issue right now. They're looking at $500 million over 50 years to improve their water. They're looking at, they either have to clean it up from the radium or the forever chemicals, or they're gonna tap into Waukesha. So my question or concern is that something that, I mean, as we get more business, we get more people, I don't know how to keep forever chemicals out. Can you keep forever chemicals out, or I don't know. But it's just a concern. I don't know if you guys have looked at that, thought about it, or addressed it. It just came up recently with Pewaukee, so. And then I'd just like to thank everybody here for all your time, energy. It's greatly appreciated, and I just want to say thanks.
Thank you, Michael, appreciate you. Feel free to reach out to me on the PFAS stuff. I know a little bit about it. the
I
forever
represent Pewaukee. so
Yeah,
I know a lot
he
about it.
represents Pewaukee. We won't ask you to comment on that. All right, with comments and suggestions completed, I'd like to just play around with the agenda a little bit. We got some folks here that have been here for a while. I'd like to move up items 9A and B, and also item 10A, mayoral appointments. I'd like to start with 10A, and then 9A and 9B after that. So unless there's any objection, I will start with item 10A, which is the appointment of Matt King to the Planning Commission. And I asked Matt to be here tonight. We provided his packet here. And I'll just say a few quick words. Let me just grab this. Like we typically do, we had a vacancy here. Tim Valley had resigned his post on the Planning Commission. He had been on for several years. He was a good commission member, and he just needed some additional time, sounds like, with family and work, and has stepped aside. Matt has stepped up. His resume and his application are attached. So like we typically do, if you want to just introduce yourself, and then just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, and then I'll open it up to questions from the council.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me here. My name's Matthew King. I've lived in Oconomowoc for a little over 6 years now. I've got a family of 5, so my wife and 3 kids. We've enjoyed this community quite a bit. Enjoy the green space, the restaurants, the diversity, and it's been a joy to live here. I know the lasting impact of the decisions that are made here, and I want to be part of that. I enjoy the community and charm that downtown Oconomowoc has to offer, and I want to make sure that, we preserve that feeling and that charm, and also welcome new opportunities in a smart and responsible way. So I welcome any questions or.
Yeah. Any questions from council? Go ahead.
No question, but appreciate your responses and look forward to you serving on the Plan Commission. Thanks for putting your name forward.
Yeah, as do I. Thank you.
Again, no questions, appreciate it. I took the time yesterday to give you a call and grill you with some questions there, so not on the council floor, but, we can grill you more later.
Look forward to it.
You have 2 planning commission members here, me and Kevin, so watch out.
Okay. Nice
in
to
the
meet you
future.
all.
I'd like to make that appointment, and, oh, go ahead. Oh, yeah, Lou, go ahead.
So, some people watch the YouTube. If you had an opportunity to tell people why you specifically wanted to serve, which I really appreciate you doing, what would that be within a couple of sentences? Why you want to be a public servant in the eye of the community that you live in?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I actually grew up loving architecture and loving planning, city planning, as weird as that sounds, but maybe it was for my love of Legos. And I went to school actually for architecture, but ended up graduating in a different path. So it's always been a part of my fabric to understand, what happens in a city, the planning, the development side, and that's important to me. And I think, again, like I said before, Oconomowoc has a special charm, and if you live here and you see it, you definitely realize it and breathe it and live it every day. And for me, I want to keep that integrity of the community. We have a responsibility as citizens here to make sure we do that, and that's what's important for me.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll ask the clerk to take roll.
Do you need a motion? I'll
I
make
don't,
a
I don't think I need a motion on it.
motion.
To confirm the appointment as presented.
Second.
That's fine. I'll take roll.
So Alderman Spiegelberg,
Aye.
Alderman Welsh,
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper,
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski,
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth,
Aye.
Alderman Frankowski,
Aye.
Alderman Altman Close, and Alderman Ellis.
All right, thank you, Matt. I moved you up so you don't have to stick around for the
Thank you.
entire
I've
meeting. It's
got a
good.
dinner date with my wife, so I can't be late.
There you go.
Welcome aboard.
Well, you should have definitely told me that ahead of time. I would have pushed you back. All right. Thank you. The other 2 items I've asked to moved up are items 9A. We'll do that next. Consider act on resolution 26R3383 for WPPI long-term power supply contract extension. So we heard the presentation from Mike before, and we'll just open it up for debate by the council on the contract extension. And Mark, if you want to say anything else on that issue.
No, Mike did an excellent job talking about the things that WPPI has done for us and will be doing for us. Great organization, I'm 100% behind them. They've been excellent for our community and highly recommend extending this contract so they can continue making it so that we have the lowest rates. But you couple that with our team here, our crews, Kevin Kari, and the job that they do for the reliability that everybody gets to enjoy. So I would recommend approval of the resolution.
Alderman Spiegelberg?
So Mike had mentioned that 6 member owners have already approved their contracts, so that leaves like 45. What happens if someone decides they don't want to extend the contract, or has that never happened in the past?
Come on up, Mike. You just drop them? Okay.
So if a member under contract today does not vote to extend their contract, they're with us until their current contract end, which is 2055. But they would not have the option to extend beyond that period. Right now, the board is offering this option to our members, and it's your choice. If you choose not to take advantage of this time period after the window closes, from that point forward, it then becomes WPPI's choice to extend. And we had one member that did not extend back in 2015. We did not give them the option to extend this time either. So their contract would end much earlier. So we have to get at least 34 members to extend for the overall extension to be effective. I have no doubt we'll get that. So.
Thank you.
If there's no, if there's not enough, let's say 30% don't extend, it just limits your ability to take out some of that long-term debt. It'll just.
It just reduce, and it's a planning issue for us because, as I said, they're with us until 2055.
Anyway,
And
right.
we don't have any resources in our portfolio that go beyond 2053 today. So if, we would maybe look at how we structured our debt so that we would make sure that it stayed proportional to the membership that was with us until 2055, and then it would drop down after that period of time to match the load that we would have post-2055.
So there's
it's a
planning,
planning
yeah,
exercise.
planning available for you guys if some don't.
Correct.
Good. Alderman Kavieski.
During your presentation, we did talk about the data center portion of it, and I appreciate the answer on that. I would like to see something in writing, in policy with WPPI, so municipalities, as those opportunities or hurdles, however they look at it, come up, have something to reference when they talk to the community and when they talk to those who may want to put a data center in their municipality, that this is how they deal with the power, and it helps to mitigate some of the potential concerns and issues of other members as well. So your answer is spot on, but I think that answer is not memorialized in writing. It should be, in my opinion.
Understood, right. And we're working that direction. What would come first is a member retail rate tariff that the Public Service Commission would have to approve, and then we would have a tariff that we would take to our board. But we have enough information that we can put together a briefing document, more or less, that explains how we would approach it when that event occurs.
Cool.
So we'll work on that and have that by the end of the year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Alderman Youngworth.
Comment only. Thank you, Lou. Appreciate that about comments about the data centers. We have to think about those things these days, so thank you for that. It makes sense to me, right? We're extending a contract, which gives you the ability then to build on, low-cost energy. I'm struggling to find a reason why this doesn't make strategic sense for the city and WPPI, so thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a good program, and our rates are incredibly low, and the reliability is incredible. So, all right, seeing no other comments, I'll entertain a motion on this.
So
I'd
moved.
like to make a recommendation that we extend the contract.
Got a
Then I'm seconding.
motion and second. Call roll.
Okay. Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Welch.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Frankowski.
Aye.
Alderman Oltman-Clove.
Aye.
And Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Okay, the next item I moved up is 9B, 2025 City of Oconomowoc Audit Results Presentation. Mike, yeah, you can go. Thank you. We appreciate you coming out. Yep, thanks. And are we ready? Do you guys want to go? Are you ready to go? Okay, let's do it.
Okay, thank you. In your packet, you have a memo. I won't spend any time going through it other than to call out before you have 3 items. Our annual comprehensive financial report. It's the thicker bound copy. You have a smaller, thinner bound copy, which is the communication from your auditor to you, the governing body. And then there is a presentation. This is all in the packet as well for those viewers at home or anybody in the audience. But tonight we have our audit partner, principal, Paul Franz, who's been here before the council before and will give an overview of the audit and address any questions you may have.
Good evening. Good to see everybody. Thanks, Steve. You stole a little bit of my thunder because I wanted to tell you what you had, but you have everything that you should. The presentation that I'll be talking through tonight does look and feel a little bit different to what you've seen before, but houses all the same information that is within that big, thick ACFR document, but presented more in a summary format for your understanding. First and foremost, we received nothing but cooperation from management in navigating through the audit process. Obviously, you had transition in 2 key positions in the finance office, and the audit went very smoothly throughout that transition. So the pre-audit conversation that we had that led to an adjustment in the engagement letter all was executed as the way that we had discussed. And really, Steve and Amy stepped in, made sure that we had everything that we needed in order to conduct the audit and ultimately issue an unmodified opinion, also known as a clean bill of health. What that tells you is that ACFR document holds all necessary disclosures, that the city is in compliance with all necessary accounting principles, and they've applied them consistently year over year. So in plain English, when you hire an external auditor, it's the outcome that you want to hear. Okay? That document is free of material misstatements. In that presentation, I do give you a look at the governmental funds of the city where things set as of December 31st, 2025. Main operating fund, the general fund, ended the year with just over $14.1 million in fund balance. That fund balance is broken down into a number of categories to help you understand what's available for spending. You had just over $2 million that was non-spendable, so money that isn't available, either cash that's gone out the door and is a prepaid expense, and or some sort of advance receivable to support other funds operations. So we carved that money out. You've got just over $250,000 that is in committed category, so things that you've earmarked for future costs that'll run through the general fund. So it's removed from your reserve or your savings account. You have $1.4 million in assigned, which is again planning for future expenditures, removed from your reserve. And that detail of what it's been broken down, you can find within the ACFR footnotes. But the important number, the unassigned category, $10.458 million as of year end. That is up from the prior year. You had a net income in the general fund of $1.06 million this past year, compared to a budget. When you put together your 2025 budget plan, you had planned to use $1.3 million of fund balance. You had a positive swing in the general fund from where you had planned just under $2.4 million. A lot of that fell into that unassigned category. So I'd like to take, as we've discussed in years past, your budgeted expenditures in the general fund, which were $21.3 million, and I'd like to divide that by that unassigned category to give you a percentage. You're at 49% this year. I believe your policy says at least 25%. There's some discussion about possibly adjusting that percentage. At least whether that's made it to this level or not, it was shared through our audit process. We look for our communities to at least be somewhere between 10 to 25%. So again, you know this, strong financial position in your general fund, no concern. I have communities that are well above where you're at or below that 10%. It really is just the understanding the use of how we're going to use that fund balance in the future. That's why you have the committed categories, the assigned categories, to again make sure that you're planning for certain circumstances, but really looking to see what that reserve that unexpected cost that could come up, what you have in that savings account. So strong financial position there. In the presentation, the next page has some information related to the utilities. Really, on there, I'd point you to the bottom section. When we talk about the governmental funds or the general fund, we spend time talking about fund balance. That really equates to reserves and cash. The utilities aren't as easy to carve out when you get into their similar category. It's called non-net position. So I give you the cash position on here for the 3 utilities, all in strong financial position. All operating expenses were covered by the rates this year, so no one's running at a deficit, so no concerns from a cash flow position. Just continued reminders to be looking at the infrastructure coming down the line and factoring that into what you expect to see in cash in those funds, but nothing from our purview that I could share with you tonight of concern with that. I also lay out the long-term debt of the city. On the next page, you have the ability to borrow 5% of your equalized value. You have capacity of 79% of that. So you're using 21% of that. You're in line with your peers in relation to that percentage, so no concerns on how you're using debt, and certainly have flexibility for the needs if they were to drive you in that direction. Steve mentioned that there was also a smaller document. It's our communication letter to the governing body and management. It is very customary and consistent to what's been in there in the past. If you were to compare it section by section, you would find one area of a new reporting item that we've called out, and that relates to a material weakness in the financial close process of the city. That partially relates to the transition and the turnover that we discussed earlier this year with not having a CPA on staff that can prepare that ACFR document. The decision was made to outsource to us to prepare that as part of the audit process. We do that for 95% of our clients. We just have to, under our professional standards, make everyone aware that that decision was made. And so that's why it's reported in there as such, but it certainly is not a call of action or a reflection of what management isn't doing. What we will be able to do moving forward with working with Steve and Amy is start to assess their overall understanding and the shape of the financial information that we get to audit. There were certainly no concerns that came across during the audit process, because I do have pivots that if I get to a place where I'm comfortable, that I can write some memos and documentation around management's choice to outsource it versus their ability to prepare it. So we're certainly going to work in that direction with Steve and Amy, and I know Amy's certainly working on a number of ways to dig in and learn more and grow. And so again, just it's different, but it's not a concern. You're consistent with peers at this point. Within that letter, it also lays out our audit process. As I alluded to earlier, no unexpected changes or identified risks as we went through the course of the audit. So when we laid out our plan, we executed it as expected. There was one new governmental accounting standard that we worked with management to consider with GASB 102. Nothing of a material disclosure related there. So there are always new standards coming out, and certainly we work with management in advance of that implementation process, but nothing of significance, but it would be called out in there if it was. We do lay out the accounting estimates that we evaluate during the course of the audit. They're clear, neutral, and non-biased, meaning that they're okay to be within the report, and they're reasonably calculated. The last thing I'll mention in there is there's a section on non-attest services that lays out anything that we did from a non-audit standpoint. This is where you'll see it noted that we prepared the financial statements and footnotes for management. Because at the end of the day, in order for me to sign and give the opinion that I have to the city, that unmodified opinion, I have to be able to determine that Baker Tilly was independent at the end of the day, and I'm happy to say that we were, and that we were in compliance with the ability to be able to do that. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions that you have for me.
Alderman Ellis.
In your presentation, you kept mentioning, I got two questions. Consistent with peers, what does that mean? What peers are you referring to?
Cities that I specifically work with that have similar type growth options that aren't landlocked in their growth or development. And then similarly sized in a financial aspect of operations.
Okay. And the second question is, because we, according to what you're saying, we have a strong financial position.
Correct.
If we were to pay down some debt and reduce it, would that put us in an even stronger position, and does that matter at this point?
Yeah, so if you're speaking from like a bond rating perspective, certainly, I don't know that I can say one way or the other what could or couldn't. You certainly have flexibility. If you look down the road, if there's infrastructure costs that you could decide not to borrow, but if you do have higher interest rate debt, you certainly have flexibility within that general fund. But it's also money that you have that you could use today and not borrow. But I don't know that it would change if that percentage changed to 20%. My perspective wouldn't be different, but certainly anything that you would want to do, you'd want to consult your financial advisor and get a bond rating consideration.
My final question, I'm sorry. There was some talk of going from 25% to 35%. What are the pros and cons in doing that?
You know, again, it's making sure that your collective governing body has a identified path of what you want to have in your savings account or your reserve account. There isn't a structurally huge change, whether that policy was to be changed or not. It would just limit how much was available for discussions during budget time of tapping into fund balance if ultimately the policy was adjusted. It wouldn't change our opinion. I have communities that range between 20 and 40% in that policy.
Really?
You know, so you're not, you know, again, it's kind of where you sit in that percentage calc, and really what is your long-term capital plan that's on the horizon.
I appreciate your opinion on that. I did not know that we had communities out there that were at 40%. Thank you.
And I should clarify, not necessarily peers that I would say. In some cases, those would be towns and villages that I would say off the top of my head that I think of would be on the
Oh, those are
higher
towns
end.
or villages, not cities?
Correct. But certainly something that if of interest, I can do a little bit of digging and provide information to Steve. But for transparency purposes, I've been talking in peers, and I didn't want to mislead you in that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Alderman Spiegelberg?
First of all, thanks to Steve and his staff and John Shu and his staff for doing a great job throughout the year and during the audit process. It's very much appreciated. Paul, good to see you again. I was going to have you explain that material weakness and why that's not really an issue for us outsourcing the financial statements, but you did a great job of explaining that already, so thank you. Were there any reclassifications or adjusting entries toward the end that are of note or that we should be aware of?
Yeah, so within that document, and again, off my top of my head, I can't say, you know, there were a few, I believe, that we have listed in there. Nothing that I would say was a surprise. You know, when I see a community go through the change that you had, not just in a finance director role, but in the day-to-day leader of those books, I see a lot more issues arise than we saw. It really was a smooth process. But again, I have clients that we have no entries, and I have clients that we have over 100. So a couple listed in there is not unusual. And when I say that it really was smooth, it really was.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Paul, thanks. Kudos to Mark and Steve and the team for sure, helping to get this all together for you. Thank you for the report tonight. And we'll make sure we all read these reports thoroughly along with our capital budget worksheets as well.
A quiz?
We can do a quiz? No. No quiz.
I can come up with something and
You
send
could
it
come
if
up
you-
with
if
some
need
and
be.
see if
But
Thank you.
Feel free to reach out if you need me at any point, but again, thank you for having us.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Paul.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Paul.
you.
I'd like to move up one other item, which is item 9E. Considering what some of the other items are today we have to deal with, this is a hearing on intent of revocation for a liquor license. Any objection to moving that up as well? Okay, seeing none, item 9E is a hearing on intent of revocation for the 2026-2027 Class B fermented malt beverage and Class C wine license for Pub Summit LLC. This is technically a hearing on revocation. I'm now, as a presiding officer, opening the hearing. And first, I'd like to turn it over to Stan to talk about some early discussions he's had with opposing counsel.
Well, I don't know if it's opposing, but
Well,
he's,
I would say opposing.
would you like to introduce yourself to the council?
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm Attorney David Halbrooks, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So, by way of introduction, Attorney Halbrooks was an assistant city attorney with the city of Milwaukee for years, knows liquor license law inside and out. He and I have had a very good opportunity to talk about this situation, and I believe that they are prepared to waive the public hearing with a stipulated set of facts. And the stipulated set of facts would be, they would agree that everything in the sworn complaint that was filed by Chief Pfister, who is a resident of our community, which if he wasn't, we'd have a problem, on June 23, 2026, everything is true except for one allegation that in the 5th bullet point, it says gaming machines appear to be the only active operation, semicolon, numerous receipts were found in interior garbage. It's not in any of the referenced reports from the officers, so, and it's, in my opinion, not germane to the issues associated with the revocation process. That would be deleted, but there would be an agreement that everything else in the complaint is admitted.
I'm sorry, I noticed later, at the end of the first section that we discussed as well, the patrons, we didn't see that in the report either. So,
Chief, we're off the, there's no record, but.
yeah,
Chief,
Well, I don't know, it's being recorded.
well, we're not, nobody said.
I mean, there's no record.
So,
Yeah. We're in it.
I do not believe that that was in the complaint either.
Right, it
Or
wasn't
in
in the
any of the
reports.
reports.
Right,
I
so-
reviewed them, they're not there.
But it doesn't change anything, so.
Doesn't change anything.
What the mayor and the council are saying is we should be having like a little mini trial. You know, when you sit in a brand-new liquor license, you have a lot of discretion. When you sit in a revocation, you sit almost as judges in a quasi-judicial matter.
Right.
We talked about this and everything, rather than, you know, sometimes those takes hours. I just finished a 4-hour thing in Milwaukee. But we kind of agreed on everything. All this stuff happened. So
Okay.
we would rather talk about what happens as a result of this than rehash and have the chief come and testify and cross-examine and all that.
Okay. So everything in the complaint, other than those 2 points, no patrons present during the 2 visits by the officers, and no receipts found from the amusement devices in the garbage. Everything else is true. And essentially, if you just put it through the bullet points of what's in the complaint, there was, on the 2 visits, there was no, the doors were open for business, no licensed operator on duty. There's evidence that the tavern never commenced business after issuance of the licenses because there were no alcohol inventory maintained in the records, no products available for sale on the visits that were made by the officers, no invoices from authorized distributors indicating that there was no inventory over there, and that the premises, well, the premises looked like they were functioning only as a gaming establishment rather than a tavern. And then finally, there was a an open door between the gas station and the tavern. So those are the facts that are there. There are, both under Wisconsin Statute 125 and our ordinance 12.04, which incorporates elements of 125, and under Wisconsin statutes 125 related to having separation between licensed premises and other operations. So that, the facts are admitted. So with that,
Well, I'd like to hear I'd like to hear council say that you're going to accept those facts, but for this issue about the receipts in the garbage can, correct? You're going to stipulate all the
Yes,
facts.
the receipt in the garbage can and the patrons, we don't have any proof for you of either of those things tonight.
Okay.
Between council, me, and the chief. So, but other than that, the only thing I've have a chance to look at the issue with the doors, and the doors are not locked. They can be, they're heavy, self-closing fire doors, but they're not secured. So we need to find a way to secure them in a way that complies with what the fire department would want. But they're also not in customer areas. But the police officer was able to walk through them. They were not secured as they need to be locked. But we have to figure out how we can lock them, whether they're, push locks like the doors outside in the hallway, something like that, would need to be in place to make sure that you can only have an entrance to a tavern as a separate entrance. You can't have, multiple entrances come from a convenience store into the tavern and the tavern from the outside as well.
Okay, so in all my years on council and now as mayor, this is only the second revocation hearing I've been in. So we have these stipulated facts. Do we need to vote on accepting the stipulation as a council as the first part of this hearing?
that'd be fine.
Sure.
I mean, I think we should do that. And I want to make it clear, you also aren't disputing the accuracy of the police reports either, correct? The officers that actually went in and did the investigation.
Well, we don't have any, we didn't talk to him and we didn't have a chance to cross-examine him. We just took what council put in the complaint. So we don't have any, you can admit the police report, but it's for what it's worth. I mean, it's hearsay, it's a hearsay document, but we don't have it under oath. So, but it is a report, a regularly held report of the.
It's a business record.
Yes.
So there'd be an exception.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm okay if, I think we ought to take a vote on accepting the stipulation. And my understanding is the only real exception is the receipts in the garbage can.
And the
then-
patron, in number one, the end of number one, we don't have any proof that there were patrons in there when the
Okay.
police officer was there.
Okay,
But neither of those things are relevant to the issue of revocation. That's why we don't care.
yeah. Well, let me ask, before we move on to this, if there's any questions from the council on what that stipulation is. Basically, we're just accepting them not contesting the facts, which means we're going to avoid cross-examining the police chief and some of that right now, or the officers, with regard to those facts. They're saying those facts are true.
Well, unless you have questions for the police chief.
Well, we may or we may not, as we go through the hearing. Go ahead.
So an I vote, since I'm voting first,
Yeah.
is that we are accepting the stipulation.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, and then that moves us on to the kind of the next part of the hearing.
conversation and the.
Correct.
and then-
Yeah, discussion about revocation, then
You
we
want
can
me to-
ask
Do you
questions.
need a motion for that?
Yeah, I think a motion to
I'll
accept
make
this.
a motion to approve the stipulations.
And I second it?
Okay. And then just do roll call on that.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Welsh.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Frankowski.
Aye.
Alderman Olpenklof.
Aye.
And Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Okay, yeah, with the facts,
So with those
stipulated,
facts,
yeah.
what you have before you are essentially, you have the right under both state statute and our ordinance to revoke the two licenses that are in question. Because you had no licensed operator on duty when the place was open. You have clear evidence that they had not commenced business from the time that they opened until today, essentially. And under our ordinance 1204 sub 5K, you must commence a business within 180 days from the issuance of the licenses. And then finally, they violated 125.32 sub 3M because they did not secure the licensed premise. Now, there is an option under our ordinance that under certain circumstances, under these circumstances, they can ask some clemency to try to fix everything, and there's an opportunity to extend the license rather than to revoke it for a period of up to 90 days. And I think that is what council is about to approach you about.
Well, yeah, let's hear that from you then.
So, yes, and so the ordinance, which I hadn't been familiar with an ordinance like this, but I kind of like it. It's because we do have it for building permits, at least in Milwaukee, where you have 6 months to complete a building permit. This says within 6 months you open. Well, there were a number of logistical issues that stopped them from opening, but none of that really, they still had the front door open and the police officer was able to walk right into the tavern. So in this instance now, we have been able to retain individuals as employees. One of the individuals who would take some shifts is here tonight. And Mr. Walia, the owner of the building, is here. And so we also have another person who can be full-time, work at the bar. We also have a different bar manager at another one of Mr. Walia's establishments in Butler that can assist us as well, that I brought in to consult. And so we're also able to make arrangements to have delivery of the beer and wine today, so that that's available, and have the invoices, the delivery receipts and the invoices here. So the issues that formed the basis for the complaint, we now have resolved. So what I'm hoping is, so say, okay, we have the 180 days, there's an option for 90 days. What I would propose to you is that we kind of take all of it and mash it together and say, all right, there's a basis for revocation here. Rather than moving to revoke at this point, that you take it under advisement for a 30-day period or 4 weeks or whenever you next meet in 4 weeks, and then let us, and rather than asking for the 90 days under the ordinance, we would only ask for the 30 days to get fully up and running, so that we're pretty much ready to start doing that immediately. Rather than face the revocation and shut down, we would comply immediately. And if we're not completely, if the police aren't completely satisfied, in short order, and agree to the opening of the tavern under the guidelines that we've set, then the revocation would take effect. But I think the ordinance is very clear. If you don't open in 180 days, it forms the basis of revocation. So even without all of these things, just the 180 days is enough in and of itself. So rather than go to that kind of egregious result, I would ask for just one chance. Let them see if we can do it now that we have guidance, now that I have a proper bar manager and we have employees. We can get the place open, get the liquor invoices in place and the hours in place, and make sure that nobody is ever in there without the tavern being open, without employees there. And again, there are 3 doors between the 2 facilities, the convenience store and the tavern, but neither of them lock. And I have to find a way that they can lock that will satisfy the fire department, because when I used to do building code enforcement, I had to, the police would say double key lock things, and the fire department would say, do not double key lock things, because people die in fires in front of the door because they can't find their key. So I wanted the opportunity to at least ask the fire department the best way to secure the doors, so that an individual cannot go for, even though the doors are in the non-customer area, the law doesn't really address that. We need a way for the people to not be able to go through the convenience store into the bar without being employees, essentially.
Okay, so your
That's my proposal, is you
hold
can,
on.
you can find the basis for a revocation,
Yep.
take it under advisement for 30 days, and call me back.
Okay, so the proposal is, basically, we give you an extra 30 days to get into compliance. My understanding is the way you worded it is that you would rely on the police chief to make that decision?
Well, it would, I think it would
I
be
mean, so
their
if
call.
he's not satisfied, he could just send us another letter and say it's revoked and it's done?
No, I would say.
We have to
you-
do another hearing here?
No, no, I'm saying you do that now. You take that under advisement now, that the revocation, your council will tell you, we just did I mean, you don't need to do anything more. You've got enough to revoke.
Well, we still have to technically vote to revoke.
Correct. But what I'm saying is, you have enough to revoke right now. Revoke, but you're holding the revocation under advisement for 30 days so that we have a chance to get it in compliance. But no, you don't have to do anything more in terms of a hearing. You've already done everything you need to do.
Okay. Well, I don't know if
We
I-
wouldn't put you through another hearing. We would
Yeah,
say- We would say, if the chief said they didn't do it, that, we might,
Yeah,
if we have-
I don't know. We'll talk about it. Look, I'd like, the next part of this is gonna open it up to council discussion. You guys get a chance to ask council questions. The owner, if you wanted to bring Chief Pfister up, ask him questions, you're welcome to. This is part of your deliberative process now. There's a stipulation of facts that establishes that they didn't open in time and they violated other portions of state statute in the ordinance. You can revocate them now, end of story. There's a proposal to hold the revocation essentially in abeyance while we investigate more or give them 30 days. You don't have to accept that. You can just revoke. But this is your chance. So the first hand was Altman Cloth, and then Youngworth, and then Ellis, because I looked that way first, guys. And then we'll get through them, and then we'll get to the next group. So Altman Cloth.
I'm going to start off with a question, then I have a statement. So the question I'm going to direct towards Stan, and I don't think either one of you had mentioned this, but just for clarification, you cannot have gambling machines without a properly functioned liquor license, correct? Okay, thank you.
Gaming machines, not gambling,
Well,
gaming.
essentially,
Amusement device.
Thank you, thank you. A machine that people put money in hopes that they win more money, and they call it
No,
gaming.
you're not allowed to
No,
do
no,
that.
no, no, no.
Oh, okay, okay. We do have 3 new aldermen that were not here when we originally voted on this, so I'm just gonna give a little bit, just a tiny bit of history for them. This owner originally came to us for a full liquor license, which we declined. We didn't feel it was the best use at that time for a liquor license. We also felt that due to the shape of the property, we didn't think they were even ready to put a bar in. There was a lot of concerns with the area in which they were putting it. We did mention to the owner, you can come back for, a beer and wine license. He did eventually come back. Again, there were still questions about whether or not the facility was even ready. Didn't kind of check the boxes that we had originally presented to him to do it. I'll be really honest, I talked at length with Stan before the last time we voted, and I said, do I have any legal basis to vote against this? Because this is a terrible use of a liquor license in our community. It became evident at some point in the process, and I don't remember where, that it really felt like he just wanted the amusement machines in there. And that was the main driver of opening a bar, which interestingly has really come to light. And I think I even remember making a comment to you, sir, at the time about, I hope this isn't your main objective. The other thing, it's very frustrating that now that you're caught, I mean, not you, sir, you're obviously the attorney, but you're up here going, oh, give us a second chance, we'll have this all going, we have the receipts, for the liquor purchase and this and that. Well, where were the purchases when the doors were open, however long ago? I mean, I've driven by, I've seen cars, I've seen the on-sign, or the, it looks open. A little too late. I trust our PD, I trust the work that they did. I'm not gonna call you up, chief. Just looking at the history of this, how it was a poor use of a liquor license to begin with, I am 100% in favor of revoking this license tonight.
Alderman Ellis. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Alderman Youngworth and then Ellis.
Question, just because I'm curious, if we revoke, is there any beyond that? Can he apply? I don't know what happened, what the recourse is for doing anything afterward.
They can say that we improperly revoked and sue us.
Well, yeah, they can go to court and say we didn't, but
The
I don't.
lawyer admitted that they did everything right.
Council has admitted we have every right to revoke, and we do.
Okay.
Really,
But
they're
if they
throwing
don't,
themselves on the sword.
if he doesn't fight it, there isn't a window of you can come back in a year and a half and reapply?
Yeah,
like-
they could later on.
Could reapply.
All right.
It's one is 6 months and
6
one's
months.
6 months and a year. So I
Okay.
think 6 months for anybody else and a year for the applicant.
Right, a revoked applicant.
Yeah,
Okay,
so-
all right.
So you or I could come back in 6 months. Mr. Walia would be a year.
Yep. I agree, Alderman Clough, that is a terrible use of that particular license. I mean, I'm just curious, what have you been doing? Like, I would expect, you talked about doing some parking lot stuff, like, I would expect if I was doing that, I'd eventually see some paint, the doors might be changed. It does not look any different. I drive by it 3 times a day. What have you been doing since
Yeah,
then?
he can explain, because I'm not sure that, well, it may appear the gaming might be the cause. I'm not sure there's enough money in those 5 machines to justify that. So let's let him explain what happened during the past 6 months.
But please, go ahead and get into the speaker, sir, and then, yeah, introduce yourself.
Hi. I remember when last year I came before you.
Speak into the microphone.
I remember when I came, Chief, I talked to him too, he remembered what I'd say. And one thing since, I think in November or something, whenever you guys give me the license, since then, I've been working with a sign guy. I've been working with Mr. Jason Gallo about all the sign issue. I hired the sign guy right away, and sign guy working with the city of Oconomowoc since November. And then according to Mr. Jason Gallo or whatever, I mean, I don't know which department which, they had one thing, because property become from one property. If I give something, all I know that since November, since the beginning, I've been dealing with, working with the city of Oconomowoc different departments, especially Mr. Jason Gallo about the sign. First to happen is because of, according to the, whatever the zoning, I don't know, zoning or some rule, it become two tenants instead of one. So we have to go through some architect process, which we was going through, and I hired the sign guy right away in November or sometime. I paid them. They were working with and then they were we closed. Like I know you probably remember. If I was hoping things was going well faster, because as I told you before, I even have I have to move that. I have a truck over there. Mr. Gallo wanted me to remove it right now. So my goal was actually this year which passed, I was going to come back to you, show you something, so that way we can come for the full license. We still have the same plan. We closed the car wash in the back, and Mr. Jason Gallo told me, that first they had those non-compliance, so sign guy has to remove all those signs, car wash sign and everything, and then what happened is in May of this year, finally they gone the zoning approved, and then just like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, my sign guy got the approved for the permit. And one thing, this is I think because this is only class B and C, there's we want to make sure there's only, I think there's one company which is I think General Beverage and 2 beer companies. The General Beverage has stuff which qualify under these whatever the class C and class B rule is, but make it look like brandy and Coke and all that stuff. So, and then a lot of, So we wanted to make sure we have the sign and everything done. It's not like I was thinking about, I didn't abandon since, I think it's sometime November where I got it. And then I think December or something, we got finally we got the, I think occupancy license took a little longer. And then since then, we've been working with the city. I don't know if it's planning commission or which department, and Mr. Jason Gallo, the contact person. So we just got the approval for the even just a regular sign. Because one is, I know I'm not, when I was here, asked for class B and C, and actually this, the last in January, I was planning to come back to you, which we have still, if things go well, but I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't even open this place, and that's the reason I didn't come to you when renewed it. We just renewed the same time. We still have the same plan what I told you the last year, and then so that's why it's not. It's just as you know or everybody know. I think Ms. Kozak, she knows. I think on this one, I've been working almost with different department, Jason Gallo and everything, over 4 years.
I think,
I just,
I think we've heard kind of this,
no, I just want to say that it's still, that's the way Mr. John, Officer Mr. John, when he's, John, I forgot the last name, I think since he stopped.
Sir, I think the question was,
Main question is the reason I want to, we still have the same attention, and we still behind. That's why we didn't even come back to you, because first, so now finally, we got the sign approval. We just got the permit, I think, around a couple of weeks ago. Now sign guy working on the signs for the, and then it's hard enough with the, with the Class B and Class C. To attract customers, we want to make sure the sign was there, and that's why there was no liquor. I didn't even, door in front of and then another issue I want to bring up to you about the middle door. There's like from a gas station, chief or whoever went there, you guys know, there in the back there's like employee only. Then there's another lock door which is self-closing. Then there's another lock, and the reason is there was only reason, we are willing to lock the door, but they're always closed, nobody go there, nobody authorized, nothing happened like that. Obviously, we are not going to say no to the officer, and at the same time to the officer, when he stopped there, he called me, I talked to him, I told him the same thing. I said, we're waiting for the sign, and we have order ready from General Beverage, and we have a couple of people who are willing to work, and I don't have full staff right now. I got 3 people who are willing to work, and then I will hire the separate manager, and then if this thing's going to go well, then if you give me 30-day chance, and then next year, if things go well, obviously you'll be the judge, and you can always, that's not, still my goal is the same.
Sir, I think I think we've covered enough ground.
Okay.
A lot of this was covered by your lawyer already.
Already.
You've already stipulated factually to some of these issues, so
I just wanted to-
Alderman, yeah, we got you. Alderman Youngworth,
I'm good.
Did he answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
There may be more questions, so if you guys want to stick around for a second.
Just ask him to address the gaming.
What's that now?
Concern about the gaming machines.
You want him to address the issue about the gaming machine?
She said, she thinks that, can you just address, she thinks that it was, the purpose of the opening is just for the gaming machines as opposed to.
No, that's not the purpose, because I am still planning, since you can tell, we were working with the sign. I mean, it's not like I forgot about the place, and we are not, because we were.
Are the gaming machines in the facility right now?
They are in there, but they don't mind their
Have
vendors.
they been used?
They don't supposed to, the door was open, obviously, I don't know who told them, because as far as I'm concerned.
So they have been used by
There
people?
should be no door, because of door open, because that's why there was no liquor, and nothing in there. And when the officer called me, I was shocked, but I answered right away, and I told the same Officer John, whoever the I forgot last name, great guy. I told him the
Sir,
same thing.
I think the question is, can people walk into that room where the amusement devices are there and use them?
They're not supposed to,
No, can they?
no,
They haven't from day one?
No,
They've never been used.
there was a door was open, that's what
I'm not asking about a door open. I'm asking if anybody has ever walked into that place and used one of those machines. Yes or no?
they, from the fact it looks like they did.
Okay,
But not from
all
the,
right. You've answered her question.
yeah.
Thank you.
But I want to make sure that the middle door, nobody was even.
We're not talking
We
about
don't
the
know- We
middle
don't need to go
door.
into all that, sir. We don't-
Well,
and-
it's-
And we
okay.
have the report from the police
okay.
department that says that there was proof of that, so.
All right.
That's, hold on, now we got more questions. And it may be for you, it may not be for you.
Okay.
Counselor, are you satisfied with that answer? Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you. Alderman Ellis.
Okay, you had stated that you had just hired some full-time and part-time individuals. Are they new employees or are they already existing employees?
The assistant manager.
You have to speak in the microphone.
Assistant manager who I just hired, who's right now working there, her name is Asia, that's a new employee. She's a experienced bartender. She has city already have, she has license and everything, that's a new employee. And we are looking for the manager right now. And the other people, they're gonna be new employees, separate, and a separate manager. So that'll be, it has nothing to do with the gas station.
So you do not have a full-time manager at this point? You only have a part-time manager?
No, we have assistant manager who'll be full-time, but we don't know yet, she's just new, we just had it we've been talking to her since, after this officer.
Now, is she just for the business, or is she for the bar? Which one is she for?
We want to keep just for the bar part, pub, just the bar, not, she had nothing to do with the gas station.
So she will never be working in the gas station, only in the bar?
No, she never worked for the gas station before. She will not work. But my thinking is, everybody should be separate, so it's just like they come in, and they have nothing to do with the gas station.
How many employees have you hired so far for this bar?
2 right now. Just one is, they are waiting for the bartender license, and one is just the one, Asia, she's already,
Is she a bartender?
yes,
And she's got a license for a bar?
yes, for a Economoc, yeah.
Thank you.
Down the other row here, any questions? Mr. Kavieski.
I don't want to disappoint you.
You won't.
So, with a revocation of license, you can come back in 6 months.
1 year.
1 year, to request a license again. With the revocation in place, the council at the time can take that revocation into consideration as part of their determination for issuing.
Yeah, I mean, there's no,
It's a negative to the reissuing of a license at that point.
yes, that's true.
Which I think is fair based on the inaction associated with what we've been talking about for the last 40 minutes or whatever. So I just want you to know, I've made up my mind where I'm at. There is an avenue for you to come back at a later date without the 30-day stipulation if you wanted to have that re-entertained.
Well, yeah, except for just so you understand, and what I call it a dead zone, so nobody will be able to use it. So we have this in, large establishments where they get revoked. And so it's always a reason to think about revoking, because it really means you just have a building that cannot be used under any circumstances. So.
To that point, I've had my own businesses. I've had some success and I've had some failures, and there is no guarantees in life. this particular opportunity may have passed in regards to what you could have done. That's kind of how life goes. So what you do in the space is up to you, but having it a bar is probably not part of that plan in the near term.
If you don't mind, you all know that I've been working on this for over 4 years, with all different departments. And because of now, we are pretty much,
Just speak, we can't
Yes,
hear.
get in the micro, can you? Yeah, yeah.
as all you know, on this project, we've been working almost over 4 years. So please consider, and I really appreciate it. And if we can do it in 30 days, you can always, then you have them in, just give me 30 days. And I am almost there, even like when you look at the license for the sign, after finally we got the permit, just from the city of Economowoc, we just got a couple of days, I think 2 to 3 weeks ago.
Right, and you've mentioned the sign thing several times. I was at the Architectural Commission meetings where they talked about the signs. The signs getting up or down have no effect on you having a licensed bartender or, beer and wine in that facility for 9 months. Just, to be clear, I've been to those meetings. I know what's been going on with the signs. That's not a reason not to been an operation. Alderman Ellis, you had a question?
Is it possible I can bring up Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I don't,
It's not really relevant.
And the reason why I ask that is this, is because he's mentioned Jason on several occasions in reference to the signs and parking.
I don't want to get into it. The
I
signs,
just want to clarify whether or not that's actually true.
I don't know. I don't think we should.
Well, you heard
Okay.
the mayor say he was there at the meeting.
Yeah.
Well,
The signs don't affect, the signs in his talking about the signs don't affect
okay.
this issue. Not having all the signs approved that he wanted, which were voluminous and were obnoxious in many instances, didn't prevent him from opening the door and putting beer on the shelf and having a licensed bartender.
Okay.
So I don't want to get into that whole discussion.
I respect that.
I'll go with city attorney on that one. So unless there's any other questions, there's two. Alderman Spiegelberg.
I would like to say that we're a community and a council of second chances, but we were very tentative about this vote to begin with. And when you say that you've been working on this for 4 years, and yet you've not been able to establish what you've had to establish to have this be an operating business, that gives me great concern. And I don't know that another 30 days would convince us of that.
It's 30 days, so you can do the same thing, or you already, I think, I don't know what our attorney said.
And that wasn't really a question, that was just a comment. So I think at this point, unless there's any more questions, this part of the hearing is closed. But there's essentially two motions on the floor. One would be to accept the proposal from council, a 30-day, and then, kind of check and see, hold the revocation abeyance for the 30 days while that occurs. The other motion would be to revocate. Should there be a motion to revocate, I think we need to mention during that motion that the facts are stipulated to, as provided in the complaint with the exceptions that we discussed, that there was no licensed operator on duty pursuant to WISTAT 125.68.2. Tavern never commenced after issuance of the license, and that there was a failure to secure the licensed premises as provided by ordinance. So that's would be my suggestion for a motion on revocation, if that's the way we go, or if there's a motion to give them the extra 30 days.
I'll make a motion to revoke the license.
Second.
As stated, as I just stated.
As you just stated.
Second.
Roll call.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Welch.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Frankowski.
Aye.
Alderman Altman Cloth.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
License has been revocated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're moving back to the beginning of the agenda. Item 7, which is our consent agenda items, and there are a variety of items under that. As the council knows, if there's something you want us to talk specifically about during the consent agenda, you can pull it out. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion for the entirety of that item.
So moved, Altman Cloth.
Second. Ellis.
I guess all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, we're moving on. Now we're going to Planning Commission. Item 8A, consider act on the conditional use permit to allow outdoor recreation commercial for the social located at 1340 Snyder Way. Jason, are you coming up again?
Oh, sure, now he can come up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. During the public hearing, we had several speakers. They talked about the sound levels that were indicated in that study. I just want to announce that, yes, it's 55 decibels, and some of the levels exceeded that, but the sound levels per the ordinance are supposed to be taken at the property boundaries. So, you know, we don't know what the boundaries levels would be. They're going to provide their own sound system. It's the tilting of the system and the getting the sound system in tune and levels. So we'll work with them on that. Again, we're a complaint-driven community. If we get complaints, we'll go out and we'll investigate. I have sound meters, several different brands that have been recently calibrated in my office right now. The lighting that was brought up at the public hearing, the plan does conform. We have light levels in, foot candles, 0.5 maximum at the property lines, and it does conform to that. The traffic through the development was brought up. Signs are going to be posted that this is a private drive, not for through traffic. The entryway into that development, we did receive an approval letter from some of the representatives that they're on board with this plan. They wanted access out to Snyder Way. It was designed kind of like an S-curve, so it's kind of unseen that it's going to be through. So it's really supposed to be a hidden driveway through there, and then signs will be posted at the applicant's expense. Finally, the capacity of the roof was brought up. That's really I put TBA or TBD, to be determined. We don't know the actual size. Not the entire roof is going to be dedicated for people. There's going to be some mechanicals up there that'll be kind of partitioned off, so it's only the far west side is going to be for the people, and the east side will be mechanicals. So that's got to be determined, a capacity up there. We don't know at this point. But with that, their whole team is here. They were here at the Plan Commission meeting as well. I'm available to answer any questions, as well as if you have specific questions, they have people that can answer.
Well, before we get into questions from council, I'm going to see if the applicants or one member of the applicants want to come up and just say hi, or do you guys just want to go right into questions? I'm happy to do it however we'd like to do it. Matt, you were here during the Planning Commission. I figured you'd like to come up.
He likes to talk.
Not tonight. Good evening, everybody. Matt Newman from Newman Companies. I didn't know we were going to have the audit bumped ahead of us, so this will be much more exciting than that. But many of you are familiar with this project. We've been working on this for a long time. We're sort of the master developer of the whole Olympia project, other than the stuff that Vanguard started out front. But basically, we acquired the ski hill. I used to say, unfortunately, the ski hill. I'm getting more excited about it now. But the ski hill and all the land behind it. So we sold the land off to Mandel. They built 270 units of apartments, and then basically we're doing all the housing around behind the hill. So our commitment to the city was to come back, of course, once we came up with a plan for what to do with, I don't know who called it, someone called it like an insane asylum or something. We used to call it the bunker. What we were going to do with that giant concrete shell, and then what we're going to do with the hill. And our commitment to the city all along from the start of that project was to turn it into a year-round family activity location, kind of the way it was years ago with tennis and golf and skiing and all the other things. So we've done our best to do that. Hopefully by now you've all seen various versions of this project. What we're here to talk about, I think, tonight is primarily the outdoor uses. We have kind of an army of our whole team here in case any questions come up that I can't answer. But at a high level, it's what Jason talked about, so I won't cover everything. But we have a whole plethora of outdoor activities. They are designed for young kids through teenagers and young adults, and even honestly parents and grandparents, to be able to interact and play together really 3 seasons a year. The 4th season, we're not going to be making snow, we're not going to be skiing there. We may find something to do there in the wintertime, but that is not part of this proposal yet. We will come back to you if we decide to do an ice skating rink or something like that. As for the sound and the staging, there was a question about how many stages. We intend eventually to just have one main stage on that roof. We are not planning to build that as part of Phase 1. That would be on the far northwest corner of the roof. That'd be a pretty significant undertaking if we decide to do it. We sort of want to see if there's demand for concerts or how much demand there might be for concerts and or weddings before we would put that sort of permanent infrastructure in. So temporarily what we plan to do is along the west side of the structure, which is kind of directly across, we're going to have restrooms and a bar that'll be in sort of a small like prep kitchen that'll service that roof area. It's meant to function sort of like a beer garden. And across from that, on the west side, we'd have temporary staging. When I say temporary, think something relatively short, relatively small. You could have a small band on and play on a Friday and Saturday night. By no means it's something we intend to have, concerts 7 nights a week or 5 nights a week. I think this is something where we're gonna have smaller bands up there that will probably play some sort of live music. So I think that's kind of a neat thing to do, especially on weekends. But in terms of a larger concert, I would think that's a relatively rare occurrence, at least initially. And eventually we'd build a larger stage if we were gonna do that. And of course, we'd have to meet the city ordinances if that were the case. Parking was a major conversation. I won't get too much into that other than to say we will have about 280 parking stalls installed right away in Phase 1 that will be paved and ready, some on the north side, some on the east side of the building. And we also have 120 parking stalls that are installed on the road that we're building through. Half the road is built right now up to the building. If you've been back there recently, you probably see a lot of activity going on north of there. That road will actually connect all the way through to the north by this fall, which is important to alleviate any traffic concerns that might be going on really in our neighborhood, as well as to the condos to the east and the multifamily to the south. We do have plenty of room to expand parking. We could add another 300 spots on our land, and then as you guys may know, we own the land around there too. And what I told the Plan Commission is we need to get this up and functioning first. It's a very major project. We need to see how this all operates, so we don't intend to develop the land specifically to the south of this until we have a good feel for how this is operating. Because if there's a complementary use, or if we would need more parking, we can do a whole bunch more parking to the south. That would be a wonderful problem to have, but we have plenty of space around there to make sure we take care of that problem if it becomes one. So I guess with that, why don't I just park it there, and I'm happy to answer questions, and like I said, our whole team is here, I think in every regard in case other detailed questions come up.
First one down the line, Alderman Youngworth.
Yeah, just a comment, maybe a couple questions. I love the idea. It's been here 17 years. I live on the other side of the hill, so the noise, I think it's a great idea. I think we need it. Love all that. I think very valid comments about the noise and the lighting. I do like the plan of going back a year later and testing it. I'm assuming that a year later we would have a third party do that versus you guys just saying, hey, it's all good. And so anyway, that's one comment. The second thing is I'd be curious about remediation, like if the noise levels are outside of that and you guys have successfully, we're gonna have bands here, there's a draw to it. Is it as simple as, putting higher walls up along the top? Like, I would be curious as to what remediation would look like if it didn't pass a year into it, sound, lighting levels that were acceptable.
Yeah, I think lighting, there's a lot of ways that we're gonna be controlling the lighting more than what was there in the past. I don't know, were you over there when the ski hill was operating?
Just toward the end of it.
Okay, so the ski hill had, I would say, a lot more lighting going on than what we're gonna have, and probably less controlled. So we have lighting that is directed inward on the site and downward. I really don't think, I would be shocked if lighting is something we're dealing with a year from now. If it is, we'll have to deal with it, but I'd be very surprised if it is. I think sound, there are gonna be times, I'm sure, where wind direction or something could cause it to be louder than other times. If we're becoming a nuisance for the neighborhood, again, keep in mind that we're building hundreds of homes out there. And this is not something that I want all of our neighbors upset about, having just invested $500,000 to $800,000 in every home that's out there. So this is not something that we want to be a problem either. But I would say, and I don't mean this in a facetious way, but if it's too loud, we're gonna have to turn it down. I mean, I really mean that sincerely. So like if there are complaints and the city comes out and says, hey, you guys were too loud last weekend, we need you to do a decibel test, and we go out and test that system and it's too loud, we're gonna have to cap it at a lower volume level. So I mean, the city ordinances are gonna govern what we how we operate.
You would just turn it down if it was
We're gonna
too
have
noisy.
to, yeah. Now, again, if it's within the city ordinances and people are still complaining, that's a different conversation, of course, right? But I will tell you, the 50 decibel level is incredibly low. Like, the ambient noise behind the tests we were doing was, that's why I think the gal that was reading the test results, just construction noise and trees blowing in the wind and traffic gets you nearly to that level. So needless to say, it's gonna have to be pretty tame. And if it gets out of control, obviously, we're gonna have to dial it back further, and we're gonna be right back here. I mean, we can't lose a CUP over something like that. We're gonna have to turn the volume down. I don't know if that satisfies it, but we're gonna have to be a good neighbor. At the end of the day, we're in the middle of about 1,000 relatively new residences. And we want them to be our most frequent customers.
Sure.
Alderman Ellis, I think you were next.
I went over there today and I walked the place.
Did you say you walked it?
I did,
Oh, my goodness.
yeah.
Is that trespassing?
Say that?
Chief, you're gonna need to
It's
take
definitely
Mr.
not
Ellis
locked
into
right now. It is
custody.
wide open.
later. First off, I want to say I like the project, but I'm having, just as everyone else is, I'm having some serious concern with a few things. First off, the private parking lot that exists, how are you going to deter the outside public from parking in those spots? Number two, the distance between the last condo and the building is maybe 60 feet, maybe.
Are you talking about the apartments?
The apartments. I
In
think they're
Lockland?
condos of apartments, I don't remember.
The condos that have been there for a while, or the apartments?
The condos that have been there for a while.
Okay,
Yeah.
yep.
No,
No,
no, you may not.
As far as the lighting is concerned,
He's trying to advocate for you.
as far as the lighting is concerned, how is that going to be controlled? If you can be a little more specific, I'd really appreciate that.
Yep.
I'm a visual person, and I like the drawings, but the concern is, after what I saw today, I've got a lot of questions. As far as the actual amenities, you got to figure that out, okay? But my concern is you've got people that live 60 feet away from this place that are going to go home, that are going to want to go to sleep, to get up the next morning to go to work. And I want to know exactly how this is going to work.
Yeah. So I think you brought up a few different things there. Parking, I'm not,
I stand corrected before you go. It's 147 feet. It's not 60.
okay, I was gonna say, I think it's further than that, but I didn't know exact. With a parking lot, before I try to answer that, I'm not fully sure I understand the question. How would we prevent the public from parking in our parking lot? Is it-
No, quite the opposite. There's private spaces there, and they are.
On our land?
No, Matt, he's
the
talking
condo
about
area.
that private drive that
Oh,
goes
the
Regent Road.
condos.
Yeah, Regent Road in front of the
Oh.
apartments there. It's called Regent Road.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
How are you going to stop or deter the
Yeah.
general public from utilizing those spaces when right now they are for those people that live in the apartments there?
yeah. I think the redesign, without seeing a picture of this, it may be hard, so maybe we could work on pulling that up potentially? You can, yes. We went through a pretty extensive design process with that association, I know, to make sure we deterred traffic, but do you have a, go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin, we actually addressed that parking
Introduce
situation
yourself,
with
please.
the vacation rental.
Introduce
Oh,
yourself.
Sorry, Eric Obarski with Newman Developments. If you remember when we did this, the CSM that actually dedicated the right-of-way for future Snyder Way, we reached out to the vacation rental people, and we're actually realigning their driveway. Right now, the way that that driveway had it, it was actually a straight shot through what used to be the parking lot of the chalet building. Their parking lot was the only access to the chalet. With us building Snyder Way all the way from Pabst Road to Roebuck Road, kind of where the steel tank used to be, that essentially now gives a thoroughfare there for people to be able to drive without going through their parking lot. But more importantly, we actually worked with Ralph Redwin, who kind of represents the vacation rental people, and said, Ralph, what do you want us to do here? You know, how can we help you out? We have to be a good neighbor. So we worked with them. We've actually are realigning their driveway. So the driveway now will actually make like an S-turn, come out at an angle to the south of their parking lot. We provided direct access into their underground parking because they do get some deliveries in there. So he said, hey, I got to be sure to get a box truck in here. We said, no problem. He said, I got to be able to turn that box truck around if it's coming in and out of our driveway, so they have a T turnaround inside there. They signed off on the plan and they said, great. We actually gave them the option to bollard that off and said, Ralph, you know, if you don't want access to the road, we can put bollards in here. And he said, we actually want access. I mean, I think this is a good thing for our people to be able to get in and out. If it's not working, we've committed to putting bollards through that driveway. So they'd be basically temporary. We'd work with the fire department. They're the kind of what they call a breakaway bollard. There'd be fire access. The other people that did want access in there is the fire department. I mean, right now you essentially have all those buildings on, before we built Snyder Way, all of those buildings were on one access in. If there was a fire in the very back of those buildings, the only way into that was off of Regent Road. There was no other access in there. So fire department now has access from Regent Road, from our new Snyder Way. We've also offset the access to make it not a thoroughfare. When you drive there, you're not looking from Snyder Way all the way through to the end. You're basically looking, what your headlights would go into is their underground parking and their parking structure. So the visual ability, the visual cue of, oh, there's a shortcut isn't there. Your headlights now are looking at a parking structure. So those are kind of the design characteristics that we took in. We worked with Ralph. This was a collaborative effort with those guys, and they're happy. They did sign off on an MOU, actually, a memo of understanding that Jason submitted with the CSM, and they're happy with the design. And again, bottom line, if it's not working, if there are issues with that, we have committed to installing breakaway bollards there if they want them.
Good answer. Thank you. Is that it for now?
For now, yes.
Okay, all right. We'll just go down the line. Alderman Spiegelberg.
Well, I agree with Jason Gallo in his staff report that this is a well-thought-out design. I do have some concerns about the hours of operation, and I was going to ask you about that. This is basically like a family-oriented type thing. Are all of the events going to be open until 11 o'clock at night on those 2 nights and then 10 on the other? That seems really late to me. Or are you just talking about like the venue and the concerts?
I think the intent is that the whole facility is gonna be open until 10 PM, 5 nights a week, and 11 PM on weekends.
Okay.
We hope that they're all getting utilized, quite honestly.
I don't know about other council members, how you guys feel about it, but I'm not comfortable with those hours. I just think that's really late. I mean, one thing we have to keep in mind too, and you've kind of alluded to this, is that this part that we're talking about tonight is the outdoor part. This won't be open in the winter.
Right.
So there won't be issues for people in the winter as far as the light and the sounds, et cetera. But I still think these hours are really late, and I'd really like to somehow have you guys justify those to
Yeah,
me
I
or
mean,
to us.
Just my personal opinion on this, summertime, it's not even really dark till 9 or 9:30. So I think some of this, like mini golfing and things like that, I think can be really neat to do at nighttime. I also think, well, families with little kids, and my kids used to be little, I guess they're a little bigger now, they're 9 through 15, but families with younger kids probably aren't gonna be out there at that time. I do think we'd have a lot of families with teenagers or kids home from college, and this is gonna be a spot where they're gonna go convene and hang out and socialize and have fun. And I think 10 PM 5 nights a week and 11 PM on weekends, just personal opinion. We actually debated midnight on weekends, and we had pulled it back to 11 PM. We thought if we have a special event or something, we need to ask for a special permit. That'll be a one-off situation. But we felt like 11 PM is a pretty reasonable hour to be able to stay active. And it's pretty important for the commercial use of a commercial property.
I know that you guys don't compare exactly with The Rock, but what are their hours of operation? I know this is not necessarily apples to apples or oranges to oranges. However, do you have any idea on,
I don't know, do we know those hours? Can one of you guys look them up just while we're talking, so we can?
you don't have to
We'll come
answer it
back to
now,
that,
but,
yeah.
you know.
Okay. Alderman Welch.
Yes, my main concern with this too, with the outdoor operations, is the loss of quality of life for the people who live around it. And I too share Karen's concerns about hours of operation, and I guess, how late do we allow concerts to go at City Beach?
I'll answer to that. 10:30?
So they should be
I
held
thought
to
it
the
was
same
9
standard
o'clock.
then.
I think it might be
Is it
10.
10?
You were playing.
Yeah.
The chief says,
Oh,
With us.
it's 10 o'clock.
the chief says 10 o'clock.
I think, you know,
What is
Point
the-
of
what- Out of
clarification.
curiosity, do we know what the ballpark is? What are the ballpark? I mean, ballpark games go to 11?
Dog hounds?
Unless
Dock
there's a
hounds?
rain out,
Dock
or
Hounds
unless
is
it's
not
raining.
a high residential
True.
area. It's a
I'm just pointing out that there's.
industrial park. So, you know, and my other question too is how many concerts do you plan on having? You're very vague in your terminology with it. You know, what's periodic?
Yeah. Well, I think part of it is because I don't know what you define as a concert, right? So like live music.
Where people
honest-
are playing instruments and singing.
Okay, any live music, I would sure
Yes.
hope we have live music multiple nights a week. Some live music. Now, again, live music can come in a lot of shapes and sizes. If you got one person up there singing songs, playing a guitar, probably not that big of a deal. But I think live music is really important. I think if you go to a beer garden sort of outdoor atmosphere, that's a really important vibe to have. So I would hope that we have that a few nights a week. In terms of a concert, when I think of a concert, I think of hundreds of people, I think of a full band, and I think of acoustics and much louder sound that's amplified. I'm sorry, not acoustics, that's amplified. And I would think that that is not gonna be every single week. I would think that it could happen though in the summertime more than once a month. But again, we don't know yet. This is a brand-new thing to us. So like, if we find that some sort of a concert series is really popular and people enjoy it, I wouldn't want to stand here and say we're going to limit ourselves to one a month, because I don't know that that would be the case. I think as far as the people around there, I mean, the reality is anyone that moved there, the condo owners were there when the resort was there, when the ski hill was there, and the resort had a lot of active uses. The resort had a ton of weddings. I'm sure all of you who lived in this area attended weddings. I attended multiple weddings there. They would have 2 or 3 at a time, 1 or 2 indoors. I was in some in the tents, I was in the parking lots. They had action there all the time. I know that not all the residential was around there, but there was a ski hill and a giant facility and a commercially zoned property that I think everyone knows was going to be repurposed for something. So I do think limiting these hours is reasonable. We do intend to be a good neighbor. Like I said before, we want our neighbors that are right there to be our most frequent customers. When they have guests over, we hope that they come walking over and hang out at our place because it's a great spot to hang out. If we're constantly making our neighbors mad, that's not gonna be the case. So again, some of this is like, we need to be reasonable people because reasonable people do better business. And we've been in this community a long time. We don't intend to change that. I don't know what I can do to, verify that for you other than prove it, which isn't gonna happen until this facility is open. But it is commercially zoned. We do need to do something with it. It is a massive hill. And we're gonna limit our hours, we're gonna limit the sound, we're gonna limit the lighting, and we'll do the best we can to be a good neighbor.
Was that all?
For now,
You, okay. Alderman Shell Pepper.
Yeah, I guess I'll take a contrarian view there. I think allowing the 11 PM use on the weekend makes sense. I think we want to give the flexibility we need for this entertainment complex to succeed. It's critical for the entire area that this, foundational piece of it has the ability to grow. And I'm afraid if we clip the wings, that we might stymie that growth. And the city's invested in this success as well. So I think we need to give that flexibility. Along those lines, I want to understand the Snyder Way, though. Is that a private road or is that a public road when it's done?
Public.
I do have a concern with allocating specific parking spots on a city street. You know, counting 473 spots of their parking use on the street, I think that sets a bad precedent. We shouldn't be saying businesses can utilize a city street to
So,
accomplish their parking
Yeah,
needs.
no, that's fair. So this was discussed at length at Planning Commission, if you don't mind me addressing it.
Yeah, thank you.
And we added some of the language into number 10 that doesn't allow them, well, basically what we've done is said, we're concerned about that too. So the Planning Commission did vote on this unanimously. There was significant concern, and Kevin was there, about utilizing all those spots. They're just kind of counting that there's that available spaces. If that's not working around because we think there's around the curve, both sides parking might not be a thing. Because there's only sidewalk on the one side and then the other side doesn't have sidewalk. And if it becomes an issue, they've already said, you know, if we can't get trucks through there, if it's too busy, it becomes a hazard, we can no sign it, that side, and take away this parking on that side if it's becoming a problem. And then they'll have to add more parking. And that's part of what we added to 10, which is this fallback, which is if the city administrator believes there's not enough parking because it's getting busy, he's gonna order them to add more parking. And the only thing they can do then is come back to the Planning Commission and say, well, you know, Jason told us we need 200 spots, we think 120 is fair, or we only think we need 100, and then the Planning Commission will make that decision. So it's kind of baked in the pudding right now on this CUP that if Jason thinks they need more parking, he's gonna order them. We've also said the spots that they have put in their plan, that they've identified as potential future parking, they cannot sell or develop until we get approval from the Planning Commission to do that. So I think what we've said is we're giving them the ability to kind of figure out how this is gonna work and then grow into it. Is that fair?
Yeah, the road is also built 10 feet or 12 feet? 10 feet wider? 10 feet wider, which was intentional back when we designed that road coming through there, because we knew it was gonna be more traffic, but also we wanted to make sure we had room for parking on both sides. But if we have to restrict parking to one side or restrict it around the corners certain times, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I think the concern though, at the end of the day, is considering 400 street parking spots as allocated spots for the entertainment
Just
complex.
120. Yeah, we have 282 on-site in the first phase.
Sorry, I
And
got
then
the number wrong.
That's okay, 120 in the road.
It's still a lot, I guess, is,
Yeah,
you know,
it's about
I
a
mean,
third of the parking.
we're depending on a significant portion of public street parking to say that we're meeting the needs of your facility on an everyday basis. And, you know, we've got issues like that going on in my district and a different type of setup, and I don't think it's appropriate. Because I mean, what other, you know, venues have we done that with? I guess it's not something we've done, so. Yeah,
And in this situation, the street going through there doesn't have any residential. You know, up by
Yeah.
the condos, yes, but the majority of the street, I believe the street, Josh, is it 37 face-to-face, do you know? 38?
30 back-to-back, right?
Yeah, so
Whatever.
that's the width of Oakwood Avenue, just to give you a perspective.
Yeah,
of
and we
what the
can't
street-
we can't, you know, build the parking we need to accomplish that, to fill those spaces without using the street parking? You're saying that you don't know
We
if we're
could,
gonna.
we wouldn't have built the road 10 feet wider to create all that asphalt. We would have put it
The road was
outside of,
engineered and designed with staff
for this.
actually contemplating this use in this building, so we wouldn't have built it as wide as we did, but when we sat down with Jason Gallo and with Jason Herzog and staff, and we all kind of knew something's gonna happen with this building, we built this road specifically extra wide to, from an engineering standpoint, accommodate parking on both sides. Now, we're very clear that there are gonna be angles, there's spots here that may not be the best to park, and we're kind of, what we're saying with the city is, if there's certain, you know, spots, angles, curves that don't work, we can mark those. But when it was engineered, designed, and contemplated with staff, it was designed, like, let's plan on parking here, because we kind of knew what the use of this building or what the hope was.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Alderman Kavieski.
Well, first, I'm excited for this. This has been something that we've talked about for a long time. I've given presentations on it. The Olympia area was for a very long time an event-driven destination. And it's nice to see something coming back to fulfill that part of our community. I understand the concerns about hours of operation, lighting and sound. all of those are typical in bigger developments of similar nature, being events, the Dockhound Stadium, things of that nature. And I think the Dockhounds is a good example because they're a great part of our community. The lighting associated with it was of concern. That's not materialized. Sound was addressed. And there is adaptation that needs to occur based on what reality is as the development goes on. Hours of operation, 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock. It wasn't, I seem to be getting older every day, but
That's how it works, Lou.
I read it, yeah. But it wasn't that long ago that I remember listening to the news and it was, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are? And now we're questioning even operation of an establishment till 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. I may go to a 9 o'clock movie and not get home until midnight. I think 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock are reasonable. It's not a 2 a.m. bar type facility. I think that would be a definite concern. So I think 10 and 11 o'clock for a predominantly family-friendly regional draw is very appropriate for that area. I never like kicking the can down the road, but I do believe the 1 year check-in is very adequate because you're going to have some data, you're going to have some real-life experience, and we're going to have the opportunity to hear from the community about what's working and what's not. And it's not like you're just the developer of that area, you're developer of the whole area, inclusive of the residential. I don't think that you would put the kind of money that you put into that portion of the development and then put that at risk with an event venue that could detract from that. There are people that want to be close to 94 and live out in Pabst Farms. There are people that love the quiet, quaint nature of our community and they live out in the orchards. There are going to be people that love the energy that the social brings to this community, and they're going to want to live there. We are a dynamic community, and that's one of the things that makes Oconomowoc special. So the parking, I'd like to see some more parking prepped for success. I think you're going to be successful. I'd rather have it sooner than later. So you've received money through TIF to prep that area, and I understand some of that has been invested in widening that road with the anticipation of parking there. But I'd like to see one of two of those areas for parking expansion being a primary part of preparing for opening.
They are, yep.
The music, man, all of that brings a sense of life to the area. It wasn't that long ago. I was actually on council, you were on council, you were on council, and it was a blighted area. And the people in the condos were concerned about the value of their home degrading. The life that has been brought back there has increased the value of the community property, assets there, as well as the quality of life there. The amenities that have come along Summit and that are going to be brought in as part of this development will be utilized not just by members of this community, but by the surrounding area. And it'll improve our tax base without increasing the number of potential students. There are no students that are going to be living in the...
Hopefully working.
Right, they're going to be working. And there's a shortage of that. They're going to come in from surrounding neighborhoods. They're going to spend money at the gas station. They're going to buy some food. That's what we do here in America, right? I mean, we create opportunities, investment. The city is invested in that. I'm reviewing that because I think we've lost some of that in discussions nowadays. Everybody wants this little bubble the way they want it. I tell you, the way I want it right now isn't what I wanted 15 years ago. But there are people that are younger than me that I represent that may not even live here yet, that they're going to find this attractive to. We're responsible for the community as a whole. And with that, I am, with the exception of the parking, as I mentioned, I'm in complete support of the development. I appreciate it, because one of the times that we met, you were very interested in scraping that hill.
There weren't cell phone towers on top.
Right?
But there are.
There are.
We can't control them. We tried.
So what do you do with, I think, some people call that the pimple or whatever, or the wart, whatever it is. It isn't, in my opinion, has always been, since it was created, an asset of the community depending upon how it's used. And the best use for that is the sledding, the tubing, the multi-event type draws that you need for the synergy to make it successful. It was proven that you can't, it's hard to do a winter-only type of event draw in Wisconsin with the changing of the weather. So 3 seasons, and the way it's planned, I hope it's successful. I hope I'm there having a drink and listening to some music and probably breaking a leg on my, on the rope course. But
Yeah, good luck with that.
We hope you don't get hurt in the ropes course. But on parking, just to address that specifically, and I did mention this at the planning commission meeting, the parking, the first expansion area, the easiest one to do, frankly, is to the north. Yep. And there's about 177, I think, spots there. And we will have that graded out, and obviously we'll grass over the top of it for now. But if we have events that would need excess parking, I actually think this might have been Kevin's idea at the planning commission, I don't know, it was someone, it came from over here anyway, was that during special events, we make sure we have our parking lots with signage that say overflow parking, and people can park right there on the grass. I mean, if we have 5 events a year that require overflow parking, that's fine. If we have an event every week, well, then we need to pave it. But ultimately, Jason's gonna be the determinant of that, and thanks to the clause that was inserted in the CUP at the Plan Commission, it means the city's gonna basically tell us what to do, and we're gonna do it, related to parking. So, anyway, I think the parking thing is gonna be resolved. We just need to figure out how much parking is needed on a consistent basis. I also don't think, and our intention is not to have people parking in the road all the time. I don't think that's a good idea. But I do think the daily usage of the facility, we have plenty of parking on site. The only other thing on hours, Eric just mentioned, the Rock is open till midnight, 7 days a week. So it does get a lot. Now, they have a lot of multifamily housing that's been built around there too. I don't think they have any single family. We did some not far from there, but it's not quite as close. So I think the hours of operation are pretty reasonable for a neighborhood.
And if you have major events, bigger events, large, there's a lot of capacity there. And if you're gonna grass that over and that's gonna be overflow parking, it was very similar to the Delafield Block Party. We did overflow parking at the sports complex there, and it was charged $10 a vehicle. And Friday and Saturday, we raised $2,500 for a nonprofit. So there are opportunities to engage with the community, to adapt and overcome with some of those hopeful challenges. Bob Duffy, our economic development director, has always been pretty vocal about, there's parking challenges downtown, that means your downtown is doing pretty well. If you have parking challenges at the social, it means you're doing pretty well. And there's more room to fix that at that location than there is downtown, so.
Lou, any more questions in
We're
there? Any more questions in there, Lou?
No.
You good? Okay. Any more questions from council? Any more comments, concerns, items they want to bring up? Alderman Altman-Cloth, and then back to Alderman Welch.
Well, the good news is my little list got dwindled down by all of your comments or questions that already came. But the lady that was here earlier, she had talked about how the condos is a private road and there's been construction traffic on there. So I don't know if this is more of a Jason Gallo, but is there any signage there that says no construction
We
traffic?
do have signage. I think we get calls probably every week, sometimes multiple times a week. We do have it posted. Construction traffic should not be using it.
Okay.
Part of the reason we scrambled and built the southern half of that road last year was to make sure that as we started this project, that construction traffic, especially for demolition work and stuff, would be able to access this way. They should not be using it. They know they shouldn't be using it. All I can say is it'll get better as soon as we have that road finished, which is coming this fall.
Okay, or if you guys could even just kind of try to crack down or put a message out to your
We
contractors,
do.
do not use
It's
this
so
road.
obnoxious. We do.
And I know that they don't always listen. Kevin and I have dealt with this in our district with not one of your projects, a different project, that it took about 3 or 4 times before they finally kind of listened.
It sucks, and I'll tell you what happens is people just plug it in a GPS, and so whatever the GPS route is where they're gonna go.
I get that.
And GPS doesn't care, unfortunately, so, but we are trying, yes.
And I think for the event space that you guys are creating, I'm completely comfortable with the 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. If you would've came to us with 11 and midnight, I think I would've been okay with that as well. I mean, obviously, going forward, keep in mind, if it is really loud, there's a lot of complaints. You guys have a big facility inside. Try to move some of it, indoors. I got a tour of it not that long ago. The roof area is not, I mean, it's big, but it's not, you're not packing in 1,000 people. And when you were talking about the different bands, I just kind of had a giggle because I was at the Wingers 90th birthday party with my husband. Was that 2 weekends ago? I don't know if anybody else was there, but they had a band called Party Animal. Now, if you get them, you might get complaints. But then we have a local singer named Sadie Joe. If you put her on your roof, you guys will be just fine.
Keep in mind, it's meant to be family friendly, so I don't think you're gonna hear a lot of super
Party animal?
obnoxious.
It was
know what
really
words
fun
they
for
use,
Wingers,
but-
though. I mean, it was, you couldn't go wrong, but yeah.
AC/DC was this weekend, so.
Alderman Welch.
Oh, yes. No, I just want to say too, I think what you're doing with the building and the indoor events, I think it's awesome. I even think the mini golf is great, but I personally have a problem with the hours of operation and just the noise, because I think the sound study, it's irrelevant. I think we all know there's going to be noise complaints and problems, and I just want to make sure that the people who are here tonight and listening, who are concerned with their quality of life, that I'm going to be their voice. So we'll see what happens. And also, for the Dock Hounds, that's in an industrial park next to a highway. It's completely different than a high-density residential area, so.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
I will be voting in favor of this, and I want to thank Jason Gallo for his due diligence on the CUP. You've said that you want to be a good neighbor, and I know you will, and I appreciate the fact that within a year, you'll be able to come back with an update. I think we've just started doing those sometime in the last couple years. And it's nice, it's good for us, and it's good for you guys to come back and say, hey, what worked, what didn't work, and if we have any issues to present or any adjustments, that can happen. But we'll hold you to being a good neighbor, and we're excited for the project. On another note, what's the timeline for completion? Because people are starting to ask
Yeah.
that.
Well, and I'll leave you with one other fun highlight other than the timeline. What I really should do is make Nathan come up here and tell you what that is, but we're working as quick as we can. The goal is to get the pickleball facility, which is where the old tennis courts were on the inside, get that open as soon as we possibly can, because the operators there, it's called Fortify Pickleball Club. A bunch of local people actually got together and put that together. It's really neat. They're gonna have 10 courts, and their goal is to be open sometime before the end of the year. So they're shooting for December 1st. If we could do it in November, that'd be great. If it's end of December, that's okay, but they want to be in because, of course, seasonality, they'd like to be in during the winter months. Even the summer months, though, they're optimistic because obviously wind, the super humid and hot weather is not super fun to play in. Rain, bless you, Stan. So there's a lot of weather considerations. They're pretty excited to be using this year round. So the goal is to have that open, and we hope to also open the coffee shop, kind of calling it a coffee shop cafe, and we haven't named it yet, but right when you walk in there, so that people are playing pickleball in the mornings, they can grab their smoothie or their coffee or their whatever on the way in and out. We intend to have that open, hopefully at the same time the pickleball opens. The rest of the inside, so call it our commercial kitchen on level 1, the sports pub on level 2, and the indoor entertainment on level 3. We hope to have open sometime in Q1. Now, we would love if that was January, but if it's February or March, more realistically, that would be okay with us. We just want to have it open in the first quarter. Sometime in the second quarter, we intend to open the hill. So in a perfect world, we'd love to have the roof and the hill open by Memorial Day, so we get a full summer season. So you'll see, there's already some grading going on in the hill with the parking lots, but also up above. If all goes as planned, you'll see the aerial trekking, oh my goodness, Stan. The aerial trekking, the ropes course, the mini golf. You'll see a lot of things start getting assembled up there this year already. So that ideally next spring, it's hard to do a lot of work in March and April because you just don't know what the weather's gonna be. So we want to get that hill largely set up this fall so that we can bring it open as soon as the weather cooperates next year. That's the plan.
All right.
We're trying hard. One other just kind of fun highlight for you is if any of you saw the new Oconomowoc football field, is it installed now?
Yes.
The new turf? It is, right? Yeah. They auctioned off the old turf. I don't know if you guys noticed that. And kind of dumb luck. I don't even know how we found out about it. Somehow we found out about it. Anyway, the turf that was the old Oconomowoc football field, the last 10 or 12 years, we are going to attempt to lay that out, and that is going to be the turf. We wanted to have turf on the roof anyway, because it's fun for like outdoor yard games and stuff. So we actually think we're gonna have the old football field on our roof, which also happens to be a pretty good size. So you'll see I know, it's kind of a cool thing. I think it's something that a lot of people have been a part of the community for a long time. We really appreciate that connection, and should be fun. I don't know if we got the end zones or not and what we're gonna do with them, but it'll be pretty cool.
Any other comments, questions?
This is way more fun than an audit, isn't it?
I mean, audit was shorter.
Yeah.
Much shorter.
We only had like 6 points. I'm just going to make a few quick comments, then ask for a motion. We've worked with and asked these folks to put this project together for the city. I think I first met with Matt and Steve and me and Lou when we were first talking about the entire Olympia project 5 or 6 years ago at, I can't remember where we were, but you guys gave it a very initial plan, if you remember that, Matt, of what this could look like out there.
Just like this.
Yeah, exactly. So it's something we've asked you guys to do. We're partners in this together. I think this is a transformative project for the city. The playbook that we have in front of us, the CUP, the process, and really actually a lot of the discussion we did with the ballpark. This is very similar to the ballpark. Additionally, making you come back in a year. Things like sound, things like lighting, those things can be addressed if it becomes a problem in that year CUP review. And it gives us a chance, another kind of kick at that can, if something's not working, to have it adjusted and fixed. And that backdrop we did with the ballpark, and the ballpark came back without significant concerns. And then actually we started giving them more stuff, like more fireworks and more opportunities to do events, because it was a positive. So I wish you guys the best. I think this is gonna be something the community has been asking us to do for a long time, is to reinvent that hill, reinvent that space, and I think it's gonna be well used and well liked. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Kowalski. Second.
Call roll.
Alderman Spiegelberg. Alderman Welch.
Nay.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Frankowski.
Aye.
Alderman Kloh.
Aye.
And Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Okay. It passes. Thank you, guys.
Thank
And
you
you guys
very
don't have
much.
to stick around if you don't want to. I know it's been a long night, so.
All right, thank you all.
Moving on to item 9C. I'll give us 30 seconds here while these guys walk out. Okay, item 9C, consider act on resolution of necessity 26R3387 for 121 Cross Street, 110 and 118 Silver Lake Plaza. Mark, are you going to give a little spiel
Yes.
on this?
Thank
Fast.
you, Mayor. Real quick, the background memo is in there. Resolution of necessity is required before we can have any discussions with the property owner. They've already indicated a willingness to sell. What this does is allow us to have the discussion with them.
In the packet, it highlighted the 3 parcels that this would involve, you know, the funeral home, and then there's 2 other parcels that have parking on them. And so, once again, all this does is opens up the ability for the city to have discussions with the property owner to see if we can have interest or look to be able to make a purchase.
Any questions, additional concerns? I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution of necessity.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Okay, Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Welch.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Frankowski.
Aye.
Alderman Altman Cloak. Aye. And Alderman Ellis.
Next item, consider act on acceptance of the jurisdictional transfer of Pabst Farms Boulevard from the Village of Summit. Mark, are you talking about this?
Yes. Yeah,
I'll have one comment at the end.
Negative.
I hope it's positive. So I'll talk fast if Lori's going to talk at the end. So out in Pabst Farms where Costco's going in, when we laid that out, that's right next to where the city-village town line is. We felt that the best way to have access to both their parcels and ours with a signalized intersection was to straddle the line with the driveways. And once we did that, that means half of our traffic signals are in Summit, half are in the city. You also have the concerns with the police department. If there's any incidents in the intersection, whose responsibility is it? So as part of that process, we reached out to the village and said it would make sense for the city to have the jurisdiction of this. It adds 800 feet is all it is. It's from the driveway of Costco going to the roundabout. I would recommend that we do this. This is just for ease of operations in that area.
So,
Go ahead.
the agreement is in near final form. It is going to be conditioned upon a new easement being granted to the village, as well as, you might recall that we have an easement agreement where they have private streets in there, and they are required to maintain them, and they're required to keep them open for vehicular traffic. So they can't change anything without our approval. It happens that the way the streets are laid out, on the east end, part of the streets are actually in the Village of Summit. So they wanted to make sure that they had the same, you know, control as we did. And so there might be a slight tweak to the jurisdictional transfer agreement that you're approving tonight to make sure that that all happens, but there will be no substantive changes unless we bring it back. So I would ask you, if you're going to approve this, and I suggest that you do, it is with the idea that is in near 99% form. There might be a couple of tweaks to it. So that's it.
Does anybody have an issue with that? Alderman Kavieski?
The only issue I have with that, and I'm in favor of this, but I'd like to make the motion to approve with stipulation that the final signed document actually come back to this body in the packet in whatever.
As an update, right.
So we get to lay eyes on it. Quite often, it's, hey, we're gonna do this later, and that's it. We don't see what's actually executed. We don't know what's actually executed. So I'd like to have the stipulation that
Right,
occur.
that's fine. So the motion would need to be then worded that we pass the jurisdictional, acceptance of the jurisdictional transfer with some minor changes as necessary for easements or otherwise, and that the final document be sent to us.
Upon completion.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Any other questions? You want to make that motion then, as stated?
Motion made as stated.
Second.
Take roll call, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Welch.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Frankowski.
Aye.
Alderman Altman Cloak.
Aye.
And, excuse me, Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Next item, staff reports. There are no staff reports, right? Okay.
Better not be.
Box is checked. Reports and comments from Alderman? Alderman Altman Close.
I just want to invite everybody out to Piggly Wiggly this Sunday for a brat fry. So what some of you guys might not know, over the course of the last year, we formed an alum group for the Oconomowoc Police, oh my gosh, I'm going to say it wrong. It's late. Oconomowoc Citizens Academy. Oh, thanks. Oconomowoc Citizens on Patrol It is an alum group from the Citizens Academy classes from over the course of many, many years. So come out between 10 and 3. Not only will you get to meet the members of the alum group, I hear the treasurer is a really good-looking plumber that lives in town here. Might be my husband. And then obviously we'll have our guys, our PD out there as well. So 10 to 3, come get a brat, burger, best ones around.
Any other comments? Alderman Kavieski.
Along with that event, on Saturday is the Lake Country Try. There will be a closure of Wisconsin Avenue, and there'll be a large gathering of people that actually want to run and swim and bike without being chased by a bear, which is kind of my
I've done
deal.
it, it's fun.
I think they're expecting a couple thousand people, about 1,000 people participating in the event, and then all of the observers. It's a great way to highlight this community and its hospitality. So be prepared for the traffic and be prepared.
So Lou, what happens to the farmer's market then?
It's on Friday.
I know, I'm being.
Oh.
Okay.
Friday.
Any other comments?
That's
Very briefly for me, just good job tonight, guys. There's a lot of heavy lifting tonight. We've got one more spot, which is a closed session, and I'll read the closed session item and then take a motion. Please take notice that the Common Council of the City of Conemaugh convene upon passage of the proper motion into closed session with staff pursuant to 1985 1A with stats. The purpose of the meeting is to confer with legal counsel who is rendering written advice concerning strategy to be adopted with respect to litigation in which it is or likely to become involved in as authorized under 1965 1G with stats. Specifically to be discussed of potential litigation associated with the notice of claim submitted by Timothy K. and pending litigation concerning the excessive assessment lawsuit between Fleet Farm and the city. The city council reserves the right to adjourn in closed session the entire meeting, and we will be exiting immediately and going into the other room.
Motion.
Yep, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Take roll call.
Okay, Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Welsh.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Frankowski.
Aye.
Alderman Altman Close. Aye. And Alderman Ellis.